Well, you guys, as you heard, I have somebody who's very knowledgeable on fasting with me here today, Sean McCormick. I've been on his podcast and now he's here on mine. And I'm going to talk with Sean all about fasting and dry fasting and things that he knows a lot about. So it's really a great opportunity for me because I've been wanting to do a podcast focusing on fasting for a long time, but I just got busy and, life took over, and then Sean reached out and offered to have a dialogue on fasting, which he has a lot of experience with. So I said, hey, today's the day. Let's do it. So here we are. So Sean, welcome.
Thank you so much. We've been here for a couple hours and got the tour, and super fun to be here. This is going to be great.
That symbol on your neck right there, the golden flower.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in my water that you're drinking.
Yes. And I'm obsessive about water too, but you take it to another level, and like the texture of the water that we're drinking with that sacred geometry on it. It's like, it's so smooth. It's like rich, silky almost.
Yeah, I love it. When we travel, of course, we have to get the best of whatever we can get. And of course, I know the difference right away, and I can feel it in my body.
Yeah.
It's funny because sometimes you're drinking, whatever it is, Avion or the best you can get, but you just feel like your body's craving something. When I get home, the first thing I do is go to my water tank, and it's just like my whole body says, yes, we're home. Yeah. And so the moral of that story is I don't travel very much. Yeah. I've probably only left this property about 15 times in 6 years after friggin' traveling the world for so many years. I said to Penny and Angie, they want to go on vacation, go ahead. I'm staying here. Yeah. I got the best place in the world. I don't need to go anywhere.
It's stunning up here, man. It's so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, to begin with, maybe, what I'd love it if you could do is as you probably know, I always start my podcast with the guest giving some background. So maybe just share an overview of your developmental history and, what brought you to being the man you are, but also, what got your interest peaked in fasting and took you on that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey to performance optimization, health optimization started really as a 12-year-old boy when my folks taught me transcendental meditation.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Good parents.
Great parents. I couldn't sit still, 12-year-old boy raging. And they thought, all right, well, it's time for little Sean to learn how to sit. So they sat me down. I used my dad's mantra and started a meditation practice reluctantly, obviously, for months and months and months until 6 months into my daily meditation practice, forcibly by my folks. I had that moment. I had that gnosis. I got it finally after 6 months.
That's pretty good for a kid. 6 months isn't that long.
Well, I was born with some intuitive capacities that I've been cultivating since then. But meditation gave me an ability to understand an altered state of consciousness, to really touch in with what's going on in my inner space. And I became interested in sort of the dynamic between being physically very active, but also being able to sit still and have peace in your heart and stillness and meditation. Mm-hmm. And so having that at 12 years old and having the meditation practice allowed me to be at home and comfortable and to be able to consider new ways of being and showing up in the world. And so through that led me fast forward through kind of my 20s of experimenting with all sorts of different practices and psychedelics and esoteric and occult teachings and finding my spiritual teacher. I thought, you know what, this 9-to-5 cubicle life that I was in selling advertising in the radio industry is not quite for me.
Right.
So I thought, well, what else could I do? Talking with my wife about what are some alternative life ways to support ourselves. And I remembered my first experience in a flotation tank.
Yes, I found that really phenomenal and profound as well.
Massive. Mm-hmm. So I found I was 25 And I was reading a lot of John C. Lilly.
Oh, yes. I've read several of his books. Very interesting guy.
Fascinating guy. And I thought, okay, well, I've got the meditation practice, so I know how to be still. I've had all these experiences with spirit guides and angels and meditation and dream states. I thought, well, I'm going to go try flotation therapy. So I found a guy on Craigslist. I went to his house on my lunch break in my shirt and tie and got naked and floated in his float tank downstairs in his house in Bellevue and had an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
It was my second involuntary out-of-body experience, and I floated into his backyard and saw where his kids played, and then I cruised around in the neighborhood. And then I was so struck by that experience that it sort of took me a second to kind of process that.
It does. And just because you're talking about it, the two of my best friends owned a flotation business in Laguna Beach. I think they had 3 or 4, and they ended up expanding to a couple of businesses. But so they invited me up. This was probably, 15 years ago. But I remember the thing that struck me the most was why, I don't know, but I all of a sudden found myself having a very vivid memory of being in my mother's womb.
Oh, yeah.
And then the experience of being born. And my first thought was like, this is just like DMT with no DMT.
Right.
It was the closest thing that I know of
on the natch
to DMT with no drugs needed.
Right.
Just pretty powerful.
It was just you and your own juices in an Epsom salt tank. So around 30, I thought, I don't want to do this cubicle thing anymore. I want to start at a flotation tank center.
Oh, cool.
I had no business doing it, no business experience, no entrepreneurial experience, but bootstrapped what now still exists as the highest rated flotation tank center on the West Coast. So
Very
I started
cool.
Float Seattle in 2012.
Neat.
And grew it to a couple of locations. And then that was around kind of the same time where the term biohacking, which is now not my favorite term.
I hate that term.
I know.
I call it bioharmonizing.
It's more accurate.
Yeah.
But that sort of, back then originally it was, cognitive enhancers and, injections. And
Believe me, I know all about it.
all that tech stuff.
I've interviewed the pioneer of the term,
Right.
and Ben Greenfield and many others.
Exactly.
And, just to interject slightly here, bioharmonizing is a completely different process than biohacking. Biohackers are into, as you know, shortcutting everything and trying to find the magic fucking bullet, which just is silly. But if I've pissed a bunch of you biohackers off, forgive me. I'm an old man with a lot of experience, so I'm speaking from a different place than most biohackers can even conceive of. But it's a worry. It's a worry. But anyhow,
Rightly so. Well,
yeah.
and we're going to tie that in here in a moment. We'll talk
Good.
exactly about bioharmonizing here in a second, because that, 2012, 2013, I got really into nutrition, and I got, had the basis of meditation, opened these float centers, and then started podcasting. I took over the podcast in 2014.
So you've been at it for a long time.
I've been at it a long time. The little engine that could. just keep having conversations with people that are fascinating.
Yeah.
That's just the thing.
I love it, man.
Whatever that is, whoever that is, just have the conversations. So I've always been into altered states of consciousness. As a college athlete, I was into performance optimization. And so that naturally leads to different, supplemental things. And fasting was also a part of that.
Yeah.
And I actually hadn't put the 2 and 2 together until kind of very recently. But the first dry fast that I ever did was to impress a girl.
Was she a yogi or something?
She was Muslim.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
So my junior year of high school, my girlfriend, who is still my wife now to this day.
Wow.
Yep. She said, "Hey, I'm going to do Ramadan, so you're not getting any kisses. Please don't swear around me. I'm going to be observing Ramadan." And she explained to me what that was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Well, I'll do it with you." And she goes, you have soccer practice 4 days a week and you're also doing not a good idea. And I was like, no, I'm going to support you. I'm going to do Ramadan with you. And I think everybody knows, it's a month.
It's a month. Yeah.
It's a month of sun up to sundown, dry fasting, no food, no water. And so I hated it. I struggled.
Yeah.
I was thirsty. I was grumpy. And obviously in Ramadan, you can break the fast. It's a big part of observation of Ramadan is to bring the families back together and to share a meal, culminating in Eid, where they, will sacrifice a goat and go through essentially a purification process. So for 2 years, I did a month of daytime dry fasting and hadn't really put that together until very recently. And so fast forward now to a couple of years ago, as I'm gaining my skills and recording podcasts, as a certified coach, I work with people all over the world for performance optimization. I work on their lifestyle, their career, spiritual development, and performance optimization. And so I thought, okay, well, what are the things that work? Those are the things that I'm most interested in.
That's a good idea.
Right. What works? How can I get the results?
Not what's popular.
Right.
What works.
Right. Because there's a lot of popular BS.
Always.
Right.
And
there always will be.
A long time, and I've watched so many things come and go. It's just like, okay, here's the flavor of the day.
Yeah. And they come and go. But as I started to do, I recorded a podcast with Dr. John Jaquish, the creator of OsteoStrong and the X3 bar. This was back in probably 2018 or so. And he sort of said it flippantly. We were talking obviously about variable resistance training, which I'm a big fan of. And he sort of flippantly said, when I'm doing he's full-time carnivore and has been for a long time. He said, if I'm going to be doing a shoot where we're taking pictures of me with my shirt off, he goes, I'll just dry fast for a couple of days. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, I won't eat or drink. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, 2-3 days. And it really shreds you up. It lowers inflammation. You get this cognitive boost, helps your gut. And it just went in one ear and out the other.
You realize, though, that the fact that he has to dry fast to look good on camera means his diet's not working.
Right, exactly.
Side note, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. Ribeyes are great, but exclusively ribeyes. Right.
Bad news.
Right. So I had forgotten about that for a while until I started to sort of open up and experiment with water-only fasting. And I did maybe 15 or 20 multi-day water-only fasts. And I hated every single one. I mean, headaches, sugar cravings, back pain, sleep disruption, all this disruptive stuff that really made it really challenging. Until I finally, after Theo bugged me enough times, he's like, you just got to try it. Read this book, watch these things, and try a dry fast. And I was like, well, it's got to be better than, it sounds crazy still, but it must be better than what I've experienced doing a 3 or 5 day water only fast, or the fasting mimicking diet, from Prolon, juice fasts, grape fasts. I'd experimented with all of those until I finally decided to go and give dry fasting a try and never looked back. So
it's very interesting. There's so many different approaches to fasting. There's a lot of diversity from culture to culture, religion to religion, cult to cult. Yeah. That's one of the things that's interesting for me and you to have this dialogue about this today, because there's, like you and I have a background in all the things you've just mentioned. You know enough about me to know my background. So we have more innate awareness coming into some of these things than, 99% of the world population. So, when you think about what the average person's being exposed to on podcasts with no discernment, no filtration mechanism, it's like a Wild West show out there. And it's just, it's biohacking, it's the supplement industry, it's fasting, it's, I must, every 10th male student must be coming in my classes saying, I'm doing semen retention. What do you think of that? I mean, people are just, trying everything out there, which in its own way is good. That's how you learn. but there's just not a lot of depth of understanding that I think needs to be out there so that people don't end up creating more problems for themselves, which is what we're going to get into here. Because I've been a therapist for a long time, over 4 decades, 42 years now. And I've seen a lot of interesting things happen with people and a lot of different kinds of fasts and a lot of fanaticism and a lot of diet extremists. And so kind of my goal today is to go through some of these issues and look at this from a kind of a broad spectrum so anybody listening can have some awareness that might be important for them.
Everyone who's listening now will know that this is not a dogmatic thing for me. This is not like, got to do this. This is the only way. Every other way sucks. It's not about that for me. For me, what I've found is that this really works for me.
Yeah.
And what I've found, doing now group dry fasting is that this works for others as well. Now, you should not just stop eating and drinking water today after hearing this podcast. Please don't do that.
Well, we're going to get into all that.
Right.
Well, by the time the podcast is over, they'll have a real good framework.
Good. Yeah. No, this is not woo woo. This is not dogmatic in any way. This is in my opinion, what works. What does it work? How does it work? And is it replicatable? So we can go from there.
One question I had for you that I put down here, because I watched a documentary years ago. It's an older documentary now, and I tried to find it this morning. Apparently you can rent it on Amazon and a couple of other platforms. It's called The Science of Fasting. Have you ever seen that?
I haven't.
It's a fantastic, very thorough documentary. I remember when I watched it, I thought, man, this documentary needs to be watched by everybody. And in the documentary, they had people with very serious terminal illnesses that were, signed off. And, doctors like, you got 3 months to live. And they did 16 to 20 day fast, but they used 2 well-established fasting centers. One of them was in the United States and the other one was in Europe somewhere, I believe. But, this is, blood work and very well run. And man, the transformations that people had and the healing and not dying and complete elimination of massive issues like tumors and bad cancers and stuff that from the medical perspective was impossible to do. But it was very thorough as far as, the risks and the dangers and how much daily management they were getting and testing and, doctors keeping a close eye so people didn't, die from the fasting as opposed to the disease, But there are a few decent documentaries out there. I haven't had a chance to watch them all. But if anyone has not seen The Science of Fasting, I forgot the author's names. It's an older movie, so you'll be able to tell by the publisher. I didn't find any others called The Science of Fasting. So it should be easy to find. But with your knowledge, I think you'd find that a fascinating documentary.
Yeah.
It's very, very well done.
Yeah. I think at a fundamental level, and this is sort of an overarching theme that I think a lot of people won't understand, is we get so caught up in inputs, what's going in.
Yeah.
I'm taking sulforaphane and NAD plus, and I'm drinking, my nutrition is this. We can take all the supplements and vitamins and all the things that we want, and you'll probably see some improvements. But detox is also important. And
I got some very important stuff on exactly that.
Right. What's not going in is just as important or more important as what is going in.
Yeah. And so I won't wander right there because it'll sidetrack the whole podcast. I'll save it for when it's the right time. But because I have dealt with everything from terminal cancer patients to serious diseases to very debilitating orthopedic injuries to mental emotional crisis to an entity possessions and psychological breakdown. And if it exists, I've probably had people as patients and clients that had it. So I've been able to watch all this stuff and study a lot and work with the best doctors in the world and the best therapists in the world and learn from them. And so I've been able to see, what's going on out there. And so that's something that I think is an issue that we have to really look at, because it's, fasting's kind of facing the same challenge right now that psychedelics are. People are now starting to rush into fasting like they ran into and still are running into doing ayahuasca or doing mushrooms or doing LSD or whatever. And believe me, have I seen the fallout of that whole story. I've talked about it on a lot of podcasts. In fact, it was so important to me. Hamilton Southern, I did I think almost 5 hour special feature. I think it's called Plant Medicine Essentials, if I remember right. But a lot of people have told me, wow, that really helped me a lot to understand what I was getting into and how to properly prepare for it. But my only point is that it's human nature to just do everything full fucking bore, dive right in.
Yeah.
It's just the way we are. But there can be some dangerous side effects to diving into things that you don't understand, as you know. Maybe what you could do, you kind of highlighted it, maybe just run through the different types of fasting you've already experimented with. You talked about your Ramadan experience. You talked about water fasting. You talked about dry fasting. Was that the main?
Yeah, I mean, I've done juice fasts.
Juice fasts, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't used too many different fasts myself. I've done a number of day fasts, like 24-hour type fasts when I'm in ceremony, because for ceremonial reasons. But my sort of fasting hang up is that I was a competitive fighter from the time I was 12 to 24. And I used to have to starve myself very carefully to make weight. I fought at 147, and my natural walking around weight in good shape as an athlete with only 7 or 8% body fat was 168 pounds. So it took me 3 months to slowly taper down for a tournament. If I went any faster than that, it would exhaust me too much, and not a good idea fighting international boxing matches where you're meeting Russians and Cubans and bad guys that hurt you. You don't want to go in half cocked. But so whenever I think fasting, I automatically think all the years I spent pretty much fasting.
Yeah, cutting weight is fasting for sure.
What I had to do is basically live off of 1 orange and 1 grapefruit and a little bit of chicken meat and a little bit of salad. And I had to do that for 3 months while training 6 to 8 hours a day.
Man.
And, boxing and kickboxing, well, this is for boxing specifically, but it's hard to do when you're training that hard and you're getting beat up a lot.
Yeah.
And your body's hungry. And I used to just think, I am going to fucking knock out whoever gets in that ring as fast as I can, because they're what's between me and a fucking meal.
Yeah.
And it was quite a motivator.
Yeah.
And when I was young, my father was just not an easy guy to live with. And there would be times when he would get fucking pissed off at me because I would tell him how I felt about certain things. And so I would have to live outside in the woods for a couple of days for him to calm down. So as a kid, I remember what it felt like to not be able to eat and have to sleep out in the forest for waiting for the grizzly bear to calm down. So I haven't rushed into these longer fasts, but there's also other reasons I'll get into later that I haven't felt. My way of doing this is just asking my soul, because I said, should I do this? Should I try a dry fast? And my soul says, you don't need to. And so I think there's a lot we'll get into as we go, but these are important things. I like to try things myself, but I also always let my soul guide me. I've got something great that helps me before going to sleep and in the morning. Actually, anytime I want to calm, center, and improve mental clarity. Personally, I wouldn't have ever expected you could experience all these benefits in one product, but I know from experience that you can with Peak's RE Fountain. In fact, I'm drinking some right now as I share this tip with you. Not only is mental clarity essential for my work in creating educational content for the Chek Institute, my Spirit Gym students, and writing podcast outlines, I love RE Fountain before bed because I love having clarity when I'm dreaming. Dreams are important means of getting guidance from the soul, and that can literally be life-changing. Additionally, did you know that one bad night of sleep can take up to 4 days to recover from? I don't have that kind of time to spiral down. RE Fountain has proprietary triple Biomax magnesium that helps me unwind and relax for the night so I wake up feeling sharp, focused, and calm. Best of all, it's free of artificial and natural flavoring and maltodextrin. Unfortunately, most electrolytes are loaded with maltodextrin, artificial and natural flavorings, sweeteners, and unnecessary fillers. RE Fountain skips all of that, and the lemongrass flavor is amazing. I invite you to join me in being more relaxed, clear, and able to build your dream during the day and take advantage of your night dreams too. For a limited time, get up to 20% off for life when you start your first month of RE Fountain today, and I know you'll thank me as soon as you try it. Save 20% on RE Fountain at peaklife.com/Paul Chek. That's PIQUE life.com/Paul CHEK. It's awesome, and I know you're going to enjoy it. My next question, there's many different types of fasts that have been used for a very long time in human history, and there are some newer versions that have emerged, often within the biohacking community. Can you share an overview of the different types of fasting used today and their specific applications? And what is the type of fast or what are the benefits that you think for each type of fast?
Yeah.
I mean, you've already mentioned several of them, but maybe if you have any context for people, if you want to accomplish X, Y, or Z, this is a good approach. If you want to do this, that's a good approach. Maybe a framework that people could kind of put in their hat and have an idea about?
Yeah, well, I think the most immediate and impactful benefit that any sort of fast will allow you is for your gut. From a digestive perspective, fasting is an excellent way to repair your gut. So if you have leaky gut, you've got IBS, you've got digestion issues, acid reflux, if you stop eating, it can't do anything else but help, right? So of the different types, are you familiar with the Prolon fasting mimicking diet from Walter Longo?
Only superficially.
Yeah. So I tried this one in 2019, and it's like herbal teas as much as you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a couple of little crackers, 6 olives, and that's kind of it for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And the fasting mimicking diet, the concept is that if you keep your caloric ingestion below a specific threshold, your body will sort of treat it as an actual fast. So if you have a very, very few calories, you're still getting some nutrients, but it's not going to activate your body the way that you would if you had like a piece of bread or a piece of toast. So I tried the Prolon fasting mimicking diet, and it went okay for me. It wasn't, it takes a lot of discipline to abstain from eating food or the typical amount of food that you would eat. For me, I was just curious about it. The ones that I was the most serious about for the longest period of time were multiple day water only fasts. So that suggests, coffee, tea, you can drink 17 Topo Chicos in a day if you want, as much liquid as you want.
What's a Topo Chico?
Oh, just mineral water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Gerl Steiner or whatever. Drinking mineral water and herbal teas and coffee, no calories. So I did that probably 15 or 20 different times. Started on one day and then 2, 3, I got up to 5. And each time, like I got leaner. My gut did repair a little bit. I've been dealing with leaky gut since I experimented with just a terrible version of vegetarianism in college. And the symptoms that I get from my leaky gut is sort of some eczema, some psoriasis symptoms, and it's terrible.
Those are fungal infection symptoms.
Yeah. No, you're right, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot about it.
Yeah, you do. So I was interested in getting leaner, giving my digestion a break. So then I experimented with multi-day water only fasts where I was also adding like essential amino acids. So I was using different types of essential amino acids throughout the day so that I could help retain some of that muscle mass so I didn't lose it in 5 days.
Yeah.
And again, had some success, leaned up, inflammation went down. But again, the symptoms of those water only fasts were terrible headaches, neck aches, back aches, sleep disruption, super low energy, and sugar cravings and caffeine withdrawals.
Those are all those symptoms you just mentioned are classic symptoms that go with elevated cortisol levels, which is a stress response.
Right. So when you're only drinking water and your digestion is still activated, your body has to use something for fuel, right?
Yeah.
So of course it will use fat cells, but will also access muscle cells. So you'll actually put a strain on the muscles that you have, which includes your heart.
It's called gluconeogenesis.
Exactly right. And we can get into how dry fasting actually preserves muscle and how that works.
I'm curious about. That's one of the key things I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast. I can't remember with who it was, but it was an expert on that. And he went through the internal biochemistry of it. And I thought it was very, very fascinating. And I'm so busy with other things, I haven't had a chance to follow up. In fact, I was going to reach out to him and say, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
But then you reached out to me and I thought, well, I'll talk to Sean. That'll work.
Yeah. Well, and disclaimer, like I'm not a science expert, right? Like I want to do what works. Experimenting is definitely my thing. And what I also want to do is experiment with things that I can tell that I can also measure. And we'll talk about this a little bit, but I did blood work before and after my dry fasts to understand, I did all that so it could be data driven, not just guesswork.
That's fantastic.
And the results were pretty shocking. But there's grape fasts, eating nothing but grapes for a month.
Oh, I'm familiar. I've had clients on those.
And the thing is like at a fundamental level, in the context of human history, we would go for days without food or water, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at the religious references, it's in all of them.
Yeah.
It's Islam, it's Christianity, Jainism, Zoroastrianism,
they're all
Judaism,
it's all
specifics, right?
Yeah.
And the same way, and they're doing that for a purification process so that you can increase the signal when you're going into a cathedral or going into a sama or a dieta to drastically reduce your intake so that you can get the teachings, get the learning, get the downloads to make the signal clear so it's not stopped up with pork or fried foods going into, like an ayahuasca ceremony, which I've done many. But again, like I'm the kind of guy that like, I want to figure out what works the best and I want to experiment with it. And if it works, I'm going to stick with it. So of all of the different types of fasts that I've experimented with, for me, dry fasting has just worked the best.
Yeah. And you're typically doing 5 days or?
Yeah. So me personally, I've done 5-day dry fasts, 3-day dry fasts, or what we call intermittent dry fasting, which is just 1 day, 24 to 36 hours. But the literature shows 7 days of dry fasting up to 11 days of dry fasting, where you do want a team of people watching you, helping you, monitoring you, making sure that you get lymphatic massage. There's locations in Europe where you will go under observation and do 7, 10, 11 days of dry fasting. Most of those folks are drawn to that because they're dealing with a very serious health issue.
Yeah.
And they're surrounded by, some of the pioneers. For instance, Dr. Filanov is still doing dry fasting in person over in Eastern Europe. So it's not a new concept. It's in religious references. It's in spiritual references. It's in, as far back, specifically talking about dry fasting from a clinical perspective goes back to the 1700s in Russia. And that's kind of where where I sort of center my focus on it, because I've done the other ones, but this one just resonates with me.
You know, what I find interesting and why a conversation like this is important to me, and surely to you too, is that, here we are, it's 2026. These concepts have been at play for literally thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I mean, all the way back to the Elysian mysteries and long before that. You can look at the book, The Immortality Key by Brian Marescu, and see they've been doing these ceremonial type practices for, depends on which dating system you use, but 25,000 plus years.
Right.
Yet, how many people today are going to the medical system with various illnesses, many of which would clear up with these very types of approaches without any exorbitant costs and surgeries and toxic drugs and all that? But we've got almost no consciousness. I mean, you and I are guys that like stay hip to the literature, talk to, smart, wise people. We know where to find them. We're connected. But the average person out there goes to the doctor, says, you're going to die if you don't take chemotherapy or do this or take these drugs or get this surgery, and they believe it. But imagine if people realized how powerful and safe and effective fasting done right is for a large, long list of medical issues.
Right.
I'll tell you, as a correlate to that, I've got a book right down that hallway in my shelves here, written in 1972. And it's called Clinical Ecology by Lawrence Dickey, MD. And it's about 700 or 800 pages. It took me a year to read it. I carried it everywhere for a year. And because it's very deep, it's nothing but scientific studies on the effects of food on the human body. And ultimately, it was the first creme de la creme text on food allergy and food intolerance. And that book shows that there's almost nothing that people go to a hospital for that can't be tracked back to problems with food. And the medical system tried to take his medical license away and stop the publisher from publishing the book when they got wind of what he was publishing. They literally tried to stop him from being a medical doctor, strip him of his license, and tried to force the publisher not to publish it. And so when I heard that, I said, well, that means I've really got to read this thing.
Right.
But so here we are talking about fasting. But on the other side of that multifaceted coin is food. And that book, written in 72, there's a lot of very well done research. And I'm telling you, most people have no idea how many of the things that we would consider diseases that have nothing to do with food or environment. They just think it's a genetic dysfunction, or they're just unfortunate, or the devil's got them, and don't realize how much of that's coming from food.
Yeah.
And that book, I mean, I read this a long time ago. God, Dr. Cliff Oliver turned me onto this book probably in 1988. And so it came out in 72. So even in 88, it'd been around for a while. And that book just blew my fucking head wide open. By the time I finished that book, I had a completely fine-tuned awareness of the power of food. And then all it did was make me realize how fucking smart Hippocrates was.
Exactly right.
I'm like, okay, two things have happened. We've gotten so smart, we're dumb. And we've had some really goddamn smart people walking the planet that people don't pay enough attention to.
Right.
And that still continues to be a problem.
100%. Yeah. Let food be thy medicine. 100%. Yeah. I mean, what you put in, day out, really, really matters. And you may have different reactions now than you did 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Your body just needs different things. But no, I think you're 100% right. How important that is.
Yeah. Sean, the next thing I want to get into is some of the precautions for dry fasting. So forgive me as I read here, because I wanted to kind of make sure I was thorough in this podcast because of the importance of this podcast. So I did some research myself. And so here are some of the precautions: include dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, refeeding syndrome, which for the listeners I'll read, occurs when nutrition is reintroduced too quickly after prolonged fasting. Insulin spikes pull phosphorus, potassium, and magnesium into cells, potentially causing cardiac failure, respiratory failure, and death. This is a well-documented medical emergency. Cognitive and psychological effects during the fast include impaired decision-making, confusion, irritability, disorientation, and are dangerous because the fasting person may not recognize that they are in a medical state of distress. Repeated cycles of deprivation and refeeding can also trigger or worsen disordered eating patterns. In other words, make bad eating patterns worse. Kidney complications include kidney stones, urinary tract infections, and acute kidney injury from highly concentrated urine. One endocrinologist reported that a patient who practiced regular dry fasting had developed kidney stones leading to severe infection. Metabolic dysfunction. A supervised 5-day dry fast study found participants lost an average of 15 pounds, but experienced significant shifts in hormones, blood pressure, and blood sugar that largely returned to the baseline after the fast, suggesting that many effects are transient rather than curative. In other words, the benefits they had bounced right back or were gone as soon as they came off the fast. Chronic extended fasting can impair thyroid function, particularly in women. So my question for you is, what percentage of people overseeing dry fasts out there do you think are effectively screening people and monitoring for these issues?
Great questions. And this is an excellent public service announcement. Again, don't jump into this. Don't just go start a dry fast tomorrow. There is a tremendous amount of preparation required before you do a dry fast to open up detox pathways, to shift your nutrition and diet ahead of time so you can kind of ease yourself in. We also suggest that you try a 12-hour dry fast, a 24 or a 36-hour dry fast before doing even a 2 or 3 day dry fast. And one thing that's kind of important to distinguish is, every time you sleep at night, you're dry fasting.
Yeah.
Right. So your body knows what that's like.
Yeah.
That's also when your body and your brain are doing major, major repair work.
Yeah.
So it's not as though this is a completely new concept, but the preparation and how you exit a dry fast, how you break that fast, and what you do for the minutes, hours, days, and weeks afterward are extremely critical.
Yeah.
You don't want to start a dry fast the day after McDonald's and half a bottle of wine.
No.
You don't want to end a dry fast with lasagna and Coca-Cola.
And half a turkey.
Just don't do it. So what we suggest is that people take a long approach at this. Do a bunch of reading. There's lots of resources. The Phoenix Protocol by August Dunning is a really wonderful resource. It's cited. The story on August Dunning, who was really the inspiration for dry fasting with friends, is a NASA researcher, and he was looking at he's a chemist and physicist, and he was experimenting with exposure to cosmic radiation and how dry fasting might help recovery from that radiation. So in general, this is not something that you just dive into. Dehydration, we'll just go kind of line by line. Mm-hmm. So it is dehydration, flat out.
Yeah.
It is. You will be dehydrated. Your blood will get thicker, which is why we stress so much importance on gentle movement and lymphatic movement.
Yeah, you mentioned lymphatic massage before. I think that's important, which means you have to have someone that knows how to do that, because that's a specific skill. I'm trained in the Vader method of manual lymphatic drainage. you can't just go to any massage therapist to get that.
Right.
If they don't know how to do it, it won't work.
Right.
They'll give you a massage, but it won't be a lymphatic massage.
Right. Yeah. For people who don't have access to, a skilled lymphatic masseuse, rebounding, vibration plates, even just going for gentle walks during your dry fast is really important. But I don't want to make any bones about it. Like, it is dehydration. And at the very same time, your body creates a ton of water on its own.
Well, that's what the guy that I was watching, I wonder if it might even be the guy that wrote that book. No, it was a younger guy. So it wasn't that guy, because I can see that guy's an older guy now. The guy was probably about your age, had long hair, kind of looked like,
was it Theo Lucier sitting behind us?
I don't think so. It could have been. The thought that came to my mind is he looked like Newton, Isaac Newton.
Cool.
But anyhow, he was talking about how the body actually does produce water through its own endogenous production, which that was the first time I'd ever heard of that. I thought that was very, very interesting.
Yeah. It's something like 1.5 liters a day of your body making what the Russians call perfect water.
Yeah.
So the cells are creating water. That's why when you're doing multi-day, 3, 5, 7-day dry fast, you're urinating the entire time. And that's a mind blower.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that, okay, my body is producing its own water and throughout this entire process, and I'm urinating, and oftentimes the urine will change color as you excrete and detoxify and get rid of senescent cells, likely heavy metals and other things that we can get into too. Your body knows how to make its own water, and it's structured, it's coherent, it's perfect. So you are dehydrating, which is why it's really important that you take a look at experimenting ahead of time so that you know what to expect. Because there's one of the barriers that people experience when they're doing multiple day dry fasts is just the habit of having water around.
Yeah.
Just that instinct to just grab a bottle and drink it. Hopefully it's really good, really quality, coherent primary water.
Which we know that's very rare.
Right. Most people aren't, right?
Yeah.
They're guzzling,
tap water.
Or
something out of a bottle that they think is good. That's probably as bad or worse than the tap because it's full of plastic chemicals now.
Plastic tea, right?
Yeah, plastic tea. That's a good one.
Right. But in that dehydration that you are experiencing during a dry fast, your body still knows how to make water. So electrolyte imbalances. This is especially important after exiting the dry fast, that you don't just hammer cheap electrolyte packets.
Which is almost all of them.
Humic, we really strongly suggest people take humic and fulvic.
Yeah.
After their dry fast so that they can reintroduce that in a very gentle way, very, very slowly. I'm talking about like when you break your dry fast, you're sipping little tiny sips of water, and it will be the most refreshing thing you've ever experienced in your life because you've gone without it. And also this refeeding syndrome, the protocol that we've built out and the way that we suggest, taking the research and looking back at the Russian and the Italian research, piggybacking and enhancing, August Dunning's Phoenix protocol, is what you choose to put back into your body after a 5-day dry fast is extremely critical. Your body is a dried out sponge, and it's going to pull in everything. It's going to use it immediately at the cellular level.
Yeah. And
so when your cells go through this intracellular clean out, you're getting an intracellular detoxification during a 5-day dry fast, not so much a 3-day dry fast. And we think of a 3-day dry fast more specifically with like gut repair. You'll reset your gut. You get a new lining on the insides of your gut. Your appetite will shift. Your sort of obsession with caffeine will shift a lot too. But for a 5-day dry fast, when you're going into that extreme, like autophagy that really kind of starts after day 3, deep ketosis, deep autophagy at the intracellular and the DNA
Why don't you
level.
explain autophagy for listeners?
Yeah, autophagy is essentially a getting rid of the broken stuff. It's a clean out of the toxins, the pollutants that you're carrying
Dead
around in your body,
cells.
the dead cells, the senescent cells, the lymphocytes inside your cells act like a furnace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of people go through what we call, or what's referenced as, a healing crisis.
Mhm.
Oftentimes they'll get a fever, or they'll get an elevated heart rate during the dry fast.
Mhm.
One example, when we did this was our last group, Dry Fast with Friends 3.0, we had a guy who was in day 4 who had an elevated heart rate and a fever for about 12 hours.
Mm.
And he called me and he's like, hey, my heart's racing. I have a fever and I feel just really funky. And I said, okay, have you gotten bare feet on the ground? Have you considered going out and getting some cold water to kind of cool yourself off? He's like, okay. So as soon as he did that, as soon as he, connected back with earth, got into some cold water, symptoms, they lessened a little bit. And then at about the 11th hour, they stopped. And the research would suggest that he had something going on in his body. Who knows what it is?
Well, I could tell you lots of things that would do that, but I'll get into that upcoming.
Right. So it's a little nerve wracking to be doing this. I mean, it should be taken very, very seriously.
Well, it's good he had you to call.
Right.
The question is, what about all the people trying stuff like that don't know who to call, or call the wrong person and get bad advice?
Right.
Which we'll get into. I've got much more very important stuff to cover that's moving right in this direction.
Yeah. So we'll go to the next one, the cognitive and psychological effects during the fast. Impaired decision-making, confusion, irritability, disorientation. You're a little out of it. And everybody that's done a 3 or 5 day dry fast, and we'll talk about why you shouldn't do a 4-day dry fast, you do feel time slows down. You do feel a little spacey. A lot of people experience pain. They experience some mental disruption. They'll feel a little out of sorts because your body is going through this autophagy process. The way that we think about it is it's a mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual purification process.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, they get to this point where they actually go within. They inspect their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
They inspect their attitudes toward things, their relationships. It's a very introspective process that we don't usually do. Most people don't ever do that. They don't think about their life very critically.
No.
And when you're going through something like this,
There's a price for that. It's called Look at the World right now.
Right. If you've never taken a beat to like, why do I eat this way?
Right.
Why do I put up with this bullshit in my life?
Why do I keep creating the bullshit in my life?
Why do I have bad boundaries with my friends? Well, when you are forced and your body is going through a transformation, a deep healing, a deep clean out, it's going to be disruptive to your psyche a little bit. So the cognitive and psychological effects are noticeable, very present, but also probably necessary if you've never done anything like that before.
Sleep is the foundation of vibrant health, influencing everything from energy and mood to cravings, recovery, immune function, and longevity. Yet millions of people struggle to fall asleep or stay asleep, and still more wake up feeling tired and unrested. The problem is that sleep isn't controlled by a single switch. It's a complex biological process that involves so many different parts of the body. That's why most sleep solutions fall short. They only address one part of the process. You need to support the sleep-wake cycle from start to finish. Fortunately, Paleo Valley has just released their brand new, super tasty superfood sleep protein drink. It combines 100% grass-fed bone broth protein, food-derived melatonin, whole food magnesium, and clinically studied calming superfoods such as tart cherry, Ceylon cinnamon, and organic chamomile to help you unwind, restore, and achieve deep, restful sleep. Rather than relying on one isolated synthetic ingredient to force drowsiness, it brings together multiple whole food nutrients that help move your body through the stages of sleep, calming the nervous system, regulating your circadian rhythm, stabilizing blood sugar, and supporting overnight repair. This formula helps your body gently transition into sleep, stay there more consistently, and wake up feeling restored. So add Paleo Valley's superfood sleep protein to your nighttime ritual. It's a delicious strawberries and cream drink without added sugar or sugar alcohols to help you unwind and get ready for bed. Go to paleovalley.com/Chek15 to get your special Spirit Gym with Paul Chek discount and try Paleo Valley's superfood sleep protein today. That's paleovalley.com/Chek15.
Have you ever read the book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. Batman Gilage?
No.
It's an excellent book. I highly recommend everybody read it. Your Body's Many Cries for Water, Dr. Batman Gilage. I think he's a Hindu doctor. So the spelling is quite complicated, so I can't spell it for you. But in the book, he says 1% dehydration of the brain and central nervous system will cause significant psychological effects or damage to people, not damage, but disorders.
Sure. Interesting.
It'll alter their psychological function to the point that he points out in the book that an unknown but probably massive amount of drugs are being prescribed for psychological disorders that are the effects of low levels of nervous system dehydration.
Huh.
He estimates that about 90 to 95% of the world population is dehydrated.
And does dehydrated doesn't necessarily mean like not drinking enough water though?
No, it doesn't, because, for example, if you're drinking reverse osmosis water, I've tested countless people's reverse osmosis water, and the pH of it is often somewhere between 5.4 and even maybe, I think I've even seen a case as low as 5.2 up to about 6. Only when the system's in really good shape and new will it be approaching 7. I've never seen a single sample come from a reverse osmosis filter that was 7 pH.
Wow.
So, but what's happening, because the water is so acidic, paradoxically, the more you drink, the more your body tries to get rid of the damn stuff.
Right.
So people are pissing all the time, which depletes you of minerals badly. And it's kind of like drinking a solvent. It's the same thing that happens when people drink distilled water all the time. If you do it long enough, it can suck the minerals out of your teeth, especially distilled water. I've had several patients that ended up with cracked teeth, spontaneous cracked teeth and they were all doing, some fad diet thing where they had to drink distilled water for months at a time.
Oh man.
And so the answer to your question is, yeah, if you're not drinking, and I don't have time to do a full lesson on water here, but if you're not drinking quality water that's adequately mineralized with a pH of at least 7, 7's ideal for the body, then there's consequences, and the body tries to get rid of it because it's actually harmful to the body.
Yeah.
And if you were to go around like I have and start testing water all over the place, you would realize that the great majority of the world population is actually drinking water that's more stressful to their body probably than a lot of the garbage they're eating.
Right.
And like you've just sampled my water. So what you're drinking is what Mother Nature naturally produces.
Yeah.
Right? When you drink the kind of water I drink, and you have a reference point, and you go out and start, I've gone out and bought like 10 or 12 different brands of water and said, okay, I'm going to test them against my water just to see what happens in my body. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, even waters that I used to think were really good taste like crap and feel like crap in my body after drinking high quality artesian well water that's been properly charged with stones. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
You don't know it. Like people just don't know. It's like someone who's raised eating at McDonald's and has never had organic food before. They have no idea what they're doing to themselves.
Right. So people, so many of us are walking around thinking that you're doing the right thing, drinking bottled water from 7-Eleven, bottle after bottle after bottle, thinking, oh, I'm hydrating myself. I really want to stay hydrated. And you're
this is better than tap water, but research shows the grand majority of bottled waters are actually worse than tap water.
Yeah. Well, heated up in plastic bottles and shipped and
sitting in the sunlight.
Yeah. So I want to go down to these other ones because
please do. Yeah, well, we got lots to go yet. I got some humdingers coming up for you.
Yeah, good. I'm ready. So the kidney complications. One thing that I will say is that the kidney stones that are referenced here, acute kidney injury from highly concentrated urine. One endocrinologist reported a patient practicing regularly dry fasting developed kidney stones. One thing that we suggest that is in the literature, in the Russian literature, is enemas. Especially, I mean, you can do them the whole time, but especially on days 4 and 5 to flush your stones. And when you prepare properly, when you open up the detox pathways, whether that's through a mega dosing of vitamin C protocol, or whether that's doing the amazing liver and gallbladder cleanse, and you're flushing from the stones.
Well, see, that'll do it. But how does an enema help with kidney stones? An enema is going up your ass, has nothing to do directly with the kidneys, unless you got a connection that I need to hear about. I mean, my ass and my kidneys are on 2 different pipelines.
No, you're right about that. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest.
It might be a therapeutic effect because, the body can absorb the water right through the intestinal lining. And I'm wondering, did you ever read, were they ever mentioning coffee enemas or just straight enemas?
No, not coffee enemas. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be for detoxification effects, which I think is important because as your body has less and less water, your toxins get more and more concentrated, which is, as you'll see later, and one of the things I'm going to bring up for you, that's a serious issue. And I think you're going to find the research I did quite revealing.
Yeah. Well, what we have found, both myself and the other people who have done dry fasting with us, is an enema not only soothes and helps, but what comes out on days 4 and 5 of a dry fast is shocking.
Yeah.
Stones, massive piles of, kidney stones, parasites
like crazy, for sure. Yeah.
We've got pictures on the website if you want to go look at the 4 different species of parasites that came out when I did my water enema on day 5.
Sean Zoo,
dude, like couple of them had eyeballs. I mean, amoebas and flat guys and things.
I've seen some crazy shit. I've been doing this stuff for a long time, and you probably know I have a course that I offer on that. I've had people bring me the craziest shit, dude. Stuff that I've had people bring me stuff that looked like fucking aliens in a jar.
Yeah.
I remember one girl shit out, probably 300 of these things. She brought it in a mason jar with water in it, and it looked just like a squid. Exactly like a squid.
How big was it?
It was about 6 inches long. And she said, I don't even know where these things are coming from. Over the span of probably a month, she estimated she pooped out at least 300 of them that ranged from about 1 inch long to 6 inches long. The one she brought me was about 6 inches long. It had full-on tentacles on it. It looked exactly like a squid.
Oh, man.
And I've seen crazy shit come out of people. There's over 1,000 parasites that infect the human body.
Right.
But even to this day, most labs, this is recently, they'll test for up to 175 of them. But back earlier in my career, there was only about a dozen parasites that doctors tested for, and most of them didn't even believe in it. A lot of them still don't.
Right.
But if you read the book, Healing with Whole Foods by Paul Pitchford, he says, and that's an excellent book for all of you listening, he says there's at least 1,000 known different types of parasites that infect the human body.
I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got catalogs back there that I made a catalog of the 4 different types, common families of parasites. And I cataloged them all. And what I wanted to know is what their hatching cycle is. Because one of the biggest mistakes people make on parasite cleanses is they do too short of a period of time. So all the larvae hatches after they're off the protocol, and they can't figure out why all their symptoms come back. So you do it, you feel better, then the larva hatches, and next thing you know, you're fully infected again. And so what that led to was me realizing that the hatching cycles, the life cycle of the parasites goes up to 60 days. So side note, in a fasting podcast, if you're going to do a parasite cleanse, you got to do it for at least 60 days, or you're probably just killing what's alive, but not. And they bury the larva deep in your body.
Right.
They bury it in each of them has their favorite organs. So you got liver flukes, kidney flukes. You got massive numbers of them bore into the mucous membrane of the small intestine, and then they basically seal it in mucus so that whatever you're eating and drinking can't get to them.
Right.
So anyhow, the moral of that story is there's a lot of them, and yes, you'll shit out some crazy shit. And I think why that's relevant to a fasting conversation, because this brings up an important point. One of the times I've had to prescribe fasts in my career is when it doesn't seem to matter what parasite protocol I've used with people, I can't kill the damn things. And so, and I learned this, I believe, from Paul Pitchford's book. The fail safe is, when in doubt, starve them out.
Yeah.
So fasting actually turns out to be the fail safe. If you've got a parasite infection that doctors and skilled practitioners can't diagnose and can't kill, then you got to do a long enough fast to starve them. And that's why they start coming out people's backsides like crazy, because you're killing them all off. They starve to death.
They starve to death, and then you flush them out, and then you're looking at them in the pasta strainer once you've 86'd them, and it's a sight to see. Like I'm the kind of guy, like I want to see that stuff, right? Like,
well, I want to know what's in the house, man.
Exactly right.
I call them uninvited guests.
Yeah. How long you been in there, bud? Like how many generations of you have just been hanging out in the mucoid
How
plaque?
much of my nutrition have you robbed me of?
Exactly. Right. And you've, when I've done, and other people have done, enemas on, maybe 2, maybe 3 in the 5 days, the mucoid plaque goes, the parasites go, the kidney stone, or the gall, maybe not the kidney stones, the gallstones.
Well, the kidney stones might be going as a knock-on effect.
Right. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to distinguish between, okay, this is a gallstone, this is a kidney stone, and you don't know the difference, but you just see these, sometimes they're the size of a pea, sometimes there's the size of a golf ball.
I've seen some huge ones.
Just coming out, and it's like, okay, well, my body didn't need those, right? I wasn't collecting those inside.
They're not gemstones.
Yeah, it's not a prize.
Speaking of, while you're on it, enemas, I used to have a guy, David, he's wrote a couple of books on colon health. David Webster, I think it might be. He's passed away now. He was an older guy. He was in his 70s when I was working with him back probably in late 90s. And my office then was on 609 South Vulcan Street in Encinitas, and right across the main drag in Encinitas, literally one street over, he had a colon health center in the bottom of the building that's now it's been for a long time the Encinitas Acupuncture and Massage Center. And he was really on top of his game. He was probably the first guy I've ever heard of in the world to start reintroducing probiotics. So he would clean you out, but he would repack you with healthy probiotics for many reasons. But I would take my clients to him, and a lot of them didn't mind me sitting in, and I would watch the view tube.
Yeah.
And I was with one of my clients, and all of a sudden, reams of popcorn started coming out of her. And she said to David, she goes, am I confused, or is that popcorn? He goes, oh, that's definitely popcorn. She said, I have not eaten popcorn in 7 years. I stopped eating it because I found out I had a food intolerance to corn.
Oh my God.
7 years ago. So she was pooping out, and there was quite a bit of it, shit that had been trapped in her colon for 7 years.
To be able to see that is fascinating. That must have been so gratifying to see the fact that all of that popcorn was coming out of her.
Well, for me, it was a really profound lesson in the fact that we tend to think that, what we eat comes in one in and out the other and it's gone. But for a number of reasons that I don't have time to get into, there's a number of things that can happen to the intestinal tract that disrupt peristalsis. You can get crypts, you can get, pocketing, you can get diverticulitis, so you get bulges in it and stuff gets trapped up inside of there. And those people, by the way, have to be very careful at a colon hygienist's office, because if you get somebody that's not skilled and they put too much pressure in there, it can kill you.
Yeah.
You'll have a sepsis right there on the table. But it's just like I think what I'm really trying to say is that the body is an amazing marvel. And there is so much being overlooked by the medical community, by the alternative health community, because you have, like, I have spent my almost my whole life studying, as you can see.
Yeah.
And you have to study a lot of different things to really start to put a picture together. You without a long list, but just think, like, you got to understand nutrition. You got to understand all the internal systems of the body. You got to understand psychology. You've got to understand physiology. You got to understand endocrinology. Like, on goes the list.
Yeah.
And and then you have to understand, how do these systems work together? And it takes a long time. I mean, I probably 35 years into my career finally got to the point where inside of myself, I said, okay, I've got an eye for almost, I know where the red flags are. I know where the booby traps are. Not much slides by me anymore, but it was probably 35 years before I finally felt, okay, I don't need to study quite so intensively anymore. I've kind of covered the field enough to, when I teach Chek professionals, my whole focus is, look, the body's way too complicated. I can tell you from studying hard, you're never going to know enough to help everybody. And the thing we've got to do is know enough to know when you need to refer a person out and who to refer them to. So to pass their tests, they have to tell me. I have a list of, I think, 19 different types of health care professionals, and they have to describe exactly when you would refer to an endocrinologist, a neurologist, all the way to a Feldenkrais practitioner, and what's the difference between a Feldenkrais and an Alexander practitioner, and when might you use a Rolfer versus a sports massage therapist. I make sure that they know not to try to do this themselves.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is, the other side of that coin is, if you could be living in a really natural, holistic, healthful way for decades and still have stuff from your 20s,
or even passed on genetically,
that you didn't foresee or think about. Like, one example, back to the parasites, we had a gal in the last group who has been eating organic on a farm in Spain, yogi, meditator, plant medicines. And she's been on this journey, I think, for 30 years. Yeah. Extremely healthy, very lean, very bright skin, like the picture of health in her 50s. And she went and got a lymphatic massage, a proper lymphatic massage, on day 4 of her 5-day dry fast. And in the middle of the massage, she goes, ooh, I'm feeling something's moving. I need to excuse myself. So she goes into the bathroom next to the massage table. She described the scene of her pulling parasites out of her eyes.
Oh, out of her eyes.
She had parasites coming out of her vagina.
Yep, I've seen that in 2 cases.
Butthole. She had them come out of her mouth. She was puking. And we were like...
I've seen them come out the nose. Had 2 cases of vaginal. And the Ascaris worm is the one that has a tendency to get into the female sex organs.
She goes, I was in there for about 90 minutes just having the purge of all, like a intergenerational purge. And I had parasites coming out of every orifice in my body, including 2-inch parasites out of my eyeballs. And she said, and once I was finished with that, I felt like a brand new person.
Yep.
She described how her vagina de-aged by 20 years. She's like, I got my old vagina back.
Yeah.
And we were so blown away by it. It was like the combination, because she's been so on top of her health for such a long time, but you never know.
These are very real issues that I'm glad we're talking about this. This is the kind of stuff I've been seeing throughout my career. And the key point here is this is a person that really lived a healthy life, thought they were healthy. And I can tell you in my career, I've had many instances, probably at least 6, where people that I know lived to the letter of a healthy, I mean, even with spiritual practices and everything, and ended up dying of things like brain cancer. And all of a sudden, out of the blue one day, boom, just like a light switch went off, all of a sudden something's wrong with me. Go in, get checked. And the doctor says, you got stage 3 or stage 4 cancer. And sometimes in as little as a month, they're gone. And 2 of them were personal friends of my mother, who were amazing people, both school teachers that had been in Yogananda's Self-Realization Fellowship for probably 25 or 30 years. They were very advanced meditators, very healthy looking. And boom, overnight, within a year, both of them died of cancer, of brain cancer. It's just the craziest shit. And I mean, if we had a different topic at hand, I could go into all the reasons that happens. But I think if anything's coming out of this conversation, aside from the obvious of why we're talking about it, it is that we really all need to be aware that the body is a lot more complicated than we understand. And what I found, just to sort of put a little bow on this, is that a lot of these people that we're talking about, like this lady you just described, when they come to me as clients or patients, and I look at their history, what I almost always find is that there was a period from the time they were a child to oftentimes in their 20s where they weren't healthy and they had health problems. And all of a sudden, like you described for yourself, you started meditating at 12 and, all of a sudden they decided to get healthy. But what they don't realize is that all the toxins and all the shit from that first period of their life is still, some of it's still trapped in their body and deep in their tissues. And that can be parasite larvae and all sorts of shit. So stay alert and stay alive is what they taught us as a paratrooper. Always watch your body, always listen to your body. Don't assume just because your skin's healthy and your eyes look bright and you're cute naked in the mirror that you got a green light every day. You always have to, and this is why in my Spirit Gym training program, I really put a lot of emphasis on learning to communicate with your soul directly, with your subconscious, the wisdom of your body, with your unconscious, and with your highest self. Because each of those aspects of the psyche can give you different information. And so when I teach people that come to me with these very complicated cases, if I can get them to the point where they can inquire within, they can have this dialogue, but if they can't, I have to do it for them. And the stuff that I have found by just going directly to a person's soul and saying, oh, tell me what's going on with you. Because if you want to live, I need to know. And I'm able to find, what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think we all need to really honor the sacredness of life, but the fragility of it.
Yeah.
It is fragile. Like the human body is the weirdest thing because it's extremely tough, but extremely fragile at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of like a vagina.
Kind of like a vagina. Yes. Yeah.
Did you finish your list there? No.
No. So the metabolic disruption was the last one about precautions. And I will say this too. Not everybody should dry fast. There is a long list of contraindications of people who should not do this.
Mm-hmm.
If you have blood clotting disorders or issues, don't do it. If you have type 1 diabetes, don't do it. If you have heart issues, don't do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're pregnant, don't do it. Another one is if you are already very, very lean, if you're an extremely low body fat percentage type of person, you probably can't spare the, potentially 10, 15. I myself, lost 18 pounds. 10 of that was water weight. but I lost 18 pounds in those 5 days. So there is a list of contraindications that has been released. So this
another one that you didn't say that's important is if you're at all psychologically unstable.
100%.
It's not a good idea.
100%. Yeah. And that's, and you really, some people are going to do this on their own. If you read YouTube comments of any of the videos that we've put out or any of August Dunning's YouTube videos, a lot of people, they'll just go for it and they'll do it alone. And then they'll get to a point where they either do freak out or their heart rate does rise and then they're stuck and they don't know who to turn to.
Yeah.
And that's not in a good spot. It's gonna mess with your cognition a little bit. And honestly, that's why we put the group and the protocols together, because as I was talking to my friends and family about this and sharing my story, this is why I did a 5-day dry fast. I wanted the stem cells. I got the stem cells, and then my friends did it, and they would call me on day 3 or 4 freaking out. And it's like, well, did you detox beforehand? Like, did you prepare yourself? Did you organize your life? Did you try to work or exercise during this process?
Right.
Don't do that. So yeah, the metabolic disruption, it is a disruption. It is 100% a disruption to your metabolism. What I'll share with you is, a lot of folks have done either in-bodies or DEXAs. I myself did blood work before and after, and saw improvements in a lot of I think there were 7. I did a company called Cyfox, which is, they do 17 different blood markers, and all of them, 16 of them improved. I forget the one that didn't, but I got a 220 point testosterone bump in 5 days, which I was totally not expecting. So yeah, there is a metabolic disruption. And what I would say about that is maybe it did need to be disrupted. Maybe there should be a disruption to your metabolism. If you've been eating in a way that you think is serving you, if your metabolism is functioning in a way that you think is serving you, and a controlled experiment like this to really reset some of your cravings and the way that you process food, the way you digest food, perhaps that's necessary.
I think one of the problems that we face in this modernized world that we live in is that we have created an artificial environment that is too stable for the needs, the energetic needs and the environmental needs of the human body. I mean, we never had 3 square meals a day.
Right.
We never lived in 72-degree temperature controlled buildings for years on end. We never went for extended periods of time without being in the sunlight. We never drank shit water all day long. And a lot of people don't even drink water. The number of my patients and clients that have told me they hate water and they will only drink juices or soda pops or things like that is too many to count. And so the way I would classify this, are you familiar with heart maths research at all? So if you study heart rate variability, one of the signs that somebody's close to a heart attack is that their heart rate variability goes away and their heartbeats are too consistent. Right. They're like a drummer, like boom, boom, right on time, right? So when you see the beat, boom, 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 right on schedule, like someone playing the drum to keep a band stable, that means you're really close to dying.
Right.
If you even just put your finger on your own carotid artery, you'll see that it'll fluctuate. It'll boom, 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 boom. It's always alternating. So they can read that heart rate variability. It has a lot to do with how healthy you are. So that is an analogy for the fact that we've kind of put life on railroad tracks.
Right.
And if you put an athlete in a Smith machine or a leg press or a knee extension or a hamstring curl machine long enough, they lose all their motor skills. I've tested it 1,000 times because you're actually taking away the body's need to integrate the stabilizer system, the proprioceptive system, the terrain. So you're actually training yourself to be a machine.
Right.
Okay. If you, and this is why I think cold plunges and saunas are so good. the number of people I'm sure you know that have a really hard time getting into a cold plunge, and they just sit there and give you 20 minutes of gobble about, oh my God, I'm going to freeze to death, or my doctor said I should, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, for Christ's sakes, would you just shut the fuck up and get in there and listen to your body? But to get hot and sweat, and then to get cold, and if you look at the research on the mitochondria, how it decouples the mitochondria and allows the mitochondria to have a break from having to generate so much energy because it's getting infrared energy or it's getting energy from the cold. I mean, on and on we could go.
Yeah.
But when I do fast for ceremony, I feel fucking great.
Yeah.
I really feel great.
Yeah.
And I really feel my organs happy. I'm like, thank you for the break. And I eat really damn good. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty tuned in. It's my life's work and my hobby to have a relationship with my body, and to feel the beauty of emptiness, and knowing how great the food's going to taste afterward, and just to celebrate that my body's getting something it really needs, to get into the cold plunge and feel how beneficial that is. To go to the gym, or go for me out in the rock garden, or to go out here on the property and do some really hard work and stimulate the body and stress the body.
Yeah.
Like you without going through an exhaustive list, like you look at the way people like you and I live and how radically different that is from almost everybody out there. I mean, here's a statistic for you that tells the story. There's a guy named Michael Mogadun, who has a master's in public health. Now, this research is probably 25 years old, maybe more now, because I found out about this from my friend Don Bodenbach, who had a health radio show in San Diego, probably around the years around mid 90s to 2000. And he gave me a copy of this radio show with Michael Mogadun. And Michael's master's was in public health. And what he did is a worldwide study of how many people regularly exercise, including even walking a dog. And the statistics shocked me. Only 3% of women and 8% of men worldwide do any regular exercise at all, including walking a dog. That's how sedentary the population is. Only 8% of men and 3% of women. So what I say to my students is I say, you know what? When you guys come to take classes from me in San Diego and you see all these pelotons of cyclists going down the road on a Saturday or Sunday, and you see people out on the golf course, and you see people out on their surfboards and wind sailing, your first thought, I bet you, is, wow, people are really fit in San Diego. But what you forget is this is a city of 3 million people, and you're seeing all of them.
Sure. Oh, wow.
You're seeing everybody that's exercising.
Wow.
You understand the metaphor.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it's more people than in most cities because we have perfect environment for it, right? But when you actually realize, if you've got a city of 3 million people and 8% of the men and 3% of the women are out exercising, I don't know the math on that, but it's enough to make it quite a good an illusion.
Right.
Like, look at everybody's exercising. But
that's just everybody that's
just
exercising.
a block away from the beach is someone who hasn't exercised in their whole life.
Right.
Since they were a kid.
Right.
And so when you start adding all this shit up, the way people end up getting their disruptions is they get sick and they have to go to the hospital, or they get their chunk of their colon cut out.
Right.
Like, that's not the way to induce a healthy disruption in your life.
No, it's too steady. It's too perfect. It's too cushy. It's too comfortable. And hormetic stress is what allowed us to be alive because our great grandparents struggled.
Yeah.
They had to sprint. They had to lift stuff. They went a couple of days without food and water, right? They sweated. They suffered. They cried because that activated this internal God-given ability in this designed body It's like, ooh, I like doing this hard thing. I'm going through something now. And every time I do, I get a little stronger. I get sick, I recover, and my immune system is better.
Have you ever seen, I've mentioned this on the podcast a few times because it's worth mentioning. If you have not seen the series on Amazon called Wild Frontier.
I haven't.
It's worth watching. My kids were blown away by it. It's a rechronicling of all the pioneers that were the first ones to build the wagon train trails and come out here to settle in the West, and had to, on a horse, come through the mountains and fight off the Indians. And oh God, man, when you see what these people lived through,
right,
and the periods without food and the extremely harsh weather and the illnesses and the injuries and the all out seriously intense battles with Indians who did not like them coming onto their land and taking their food and their resources. But man, some of these pioneers were made of fucking steel. The shit they survived through. And my favorite part was the women.
Yeah.
There's I think there's probably about 4 women featured in there. Wow. Ladies, if you want to get some inspiration for how freaking smart and tough women can be, watch Wild Frontier.
Yeah.
But this is the disruption we're talking about.
Right.
That's the reality that we're built for.
We're built for it.
And we've come so far towards destroying ourselves, trying to make our lives easier. It's a joke.
Right.
It's really, it's a terminal joke.
Yeah.
It's like a terminal punchline.
You have to try Organifi's Creatine Cherry Chews, a sports gummy designed to enhance performance and recovery. Containing the highest quality creatine monohydrate sourced from Germany, together with Vita Cherry, a tart cherry extract known for its antioxidant properties, Organifi's Creatine Cherry Chews are free from additives, sweeteners, or fillers and taste amazing. They are the perfect exercise enhancer because your body uses the creatine for energy immediately. Take 2 gummies before or after your workout, and most people will feel the difference in just 2 weeks of consistent use. Used regularly, creatine can increase endurance and muscle strength, help reduce muscle cell damage, assist with recovery, and support cognitive function and focus. To try Organifi's Creatine Cherry Chews and save 20% off your order, go to Organifi.com/Chek20 and use the promo code Chek20. That's Organifi.com/Chek20, and the code for your 20% discount is Chek20.
Sean, I'm having a great dialogue with you. Thank you. It's fascinating. I love the opportunity to explore. And as I was saying to you on the break, it's nice because our dialogue is taking us into cul-de-sacs that very few people go down, but need to.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. So here's my next one. One of the issues regarding fasting in general that I've encountered a number of times in my career, and more recently now than ever due to the rising popularity of fasting, is this. I see people that are not managing their diet and lifestyle intelligently and are typically overweight and have other health challenges resorting to fasting to lose weight. They look and feel better for a number of weeks and up to a few months. And in my observation, then rebound comes back. And then they're much the same people they were and have the same problems as people that try to lose weight with dieting, which is, 98% of people that go on diets end up rebounding and weighing more than when they started. That's a statistic people still haven't gotten through their heads because the dieting issue. I mean, when I wrote my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, I started writing it in the year 2000. I researched how many books there were on diet in the United States. There was 5,096, if I remember right. So we've had all these diet books forever, and we're the sickest people we've ever been, right? So it boils down to one thing: quit reading fucking books and pay attention to your goddamn body, which is what I've been telling people forever. So this concerns me for a number of reasons. What are your observations and concerns in this regard?
Start listening to your body. I mean, that... Next question.
It's as simple as that. and
Well,
just
there's more. There's more.
yeah,
So,
go ahead, because I want to throw
Yeah.
a couple of chips on that pile too.
So here's I think the distinction is fasting. If you're fasting because you think it's going to give you a quick fix and you're just waiting to stuff your face again afterward, you're missing the whole point. And in my experience and the experience of the other people that we've done dry fasting with friends with, is they have done all different types of diets and keto or carnivore. They've tried maybe water fasting for years and they kind of like it, but they're just waiting until they can eat again. And the reason why dry fasting, I think, is the ultimate, is that when you go for 5 days without food and water, you are forced to confront yourself.
Yeah.
You're forced to deal with the slowness of time. You're forced to confront how you eat, how you use your energy, the boundaries that you create, that you accept or don't accept. You cannot help, because it is a controlled starvation and a controlled dehydration. There's nowhere to go.
It's really a shamanic journey.
It is 100% a shamanic journey. You have to confront yourself. You have to face some hard truths about yourself. And, the emotional impact of this forces people to say, okay, all right, I haven't had any food or water for 5 days. I'm going to be really choosy about what goes into my body day 1, day 2, day 30, day 365.
Yeah.
Because when you have that massive reset, like slapping the big red reset button, your entire life changes. The way that you see yourself and your life, your lifestyle, all of it changes. And you also become a bit more sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
You can't help it.
Yeah.
So the way that you're talking with your spouse, or the way that you prepare your food, your discernment increases 10x.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that, oh, okay, well, I was just sort of mindlessly going towards salty, crunchy things because that's what I thought I wanted. And so what we've seen and what the literature shows is that, yes, this does help weight loss. You're going to lose weight, but that's not what this is about. This is about a transformation, a detoxification, and a healing process. There's one guy that we had and actually did a podcast with him, this guy, Chris, and it was titled, "What Happens When a Normie Does a Dry Fast?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Chris, why did you do this?" And he goes, I was so curious about it. I'm not a biohacker. I don't take vitamins. I don't eat particularly well. I just wanted to go through a rite of passage.
Very good.
I wanted to just try something that was totally out of my comfort zone. He goes, I don't think much about my food. And what happened was he was more tolerant with his children. His sleep improved. He quit coffee. He quit drinking alcohol. He started to move more, and it happened naturally because that's just what his body now wanted.
Well, he had a real rite of passage.
Exactly. It wasn't like a conscious choice, like, oh, got to clean up my act. He saw me talking about it, and he's like, well, I want to try that. I can go 5 days. It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. But what happened was all of these little check engine lights that he was ignoring previously, now he listens to.
He saw the dashboard.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to change everything because it's time to change. I'm 44. I want to live in a different way. I want to live more intentionally. And I've gone through this period of suffering, this period of deep introspection. His sleep changed. He quit drinking. He got healthier. And so we have not seen that same rebounding effect that is a legitimate concern.
Yeah. Two things I have seen, not so much with dry fasting, because I've only known maybe 5 or 6 people personally that have done it. You would be a new one. And those are all very spiritually aware people and body aware people. But I have seen lots of people trying a lot of different types of fasting who come off the fast and just go at it.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of this from my boxing career. We used to have a real problem with boxers right after they would finish a tournament, go out and just eat like a mother. And I've actually seen fighters gain weight 15 pounds in 8 hours.
Jeez.
15 pounds. One of our boxers ate, I think, 3 pizzas, 3 or 4 banana splits, probably drank 2 quarts of root beer. Now, he fought at 132 pounds lightweight. So he went up to 145 pounds overnight because we had to go to the gym 7 days a week. We get weighed 2-3 times a day. And he developed stretch marks all over his body. His skin, he gained so much weight. He had big, huge stretch marks, kind of like some women get when they're pregnant.
Yeah.
On his chest, his abdomen, all over.
Whoa.
He gained so much water weight that it just literally stretched the shit out of his skin. And so the point I'm making is there are a lot of people out there that do fast that have what they think is health consciousness, but then they go back and they eat too damn much food and end up causing themselves a lot of trouble. So that was one point I wanted to make. The second point is, we tell people, listen to your body, but people don't know how to do that. So as a gift to all of you, I'll give you an example of what I teach Chek professionals to look for. Watch your skin. Watch your vision. Watch the whites of your eyes and the colors of your eyes and even the pattern in your eyes. The whole science of iridology is all about that, and it's real. And you can even get good basic books on iridology and just watch your eyes. Look at the health of your fingernails. There's lots of things that can happen with fingernails, from flaking to becoming too soft and weak, like paper nails, to being too brittle, to grooves in your nails, to white dots in your nails. For example, that indicates a zinc deficiency. When you have mineral deficiencies, your nails can actually get flaky. They can look like shale and start flaking off in layers. So watch your nails, toe and finger. Your hair, always watch your hair and the quality of your hair. I mean, I don't have a lot of hair, but split ends, dry. I've had vegans come to me who had hair so brittle, if you grabbed it and bent it, it would snap, just like straw, while they're telling me how great their diet is. Look at your urination, the color, the smell. Look at the quality of your poops. Right in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, I have the poopy policeman chart, and it explains what all the common malfunctions in your poop mean and what to do about it. Look at how your joints feel. Look at how much water you're holding. Look especially around your belly button, because whenever cortisol levels go too high, you start accumulating water around the belly button, which makes it look like fat. Look at how much body weight you're gaining relative to lean muscle mass, or just simply put, are you getting fat? It amazes me that people, come to me 100 pounds overweight and act like they're not sure what's wrong. And I say, well, this has been going on for years, right? You don't get 100 pounds overweight overnight. It's shocking to me how many people get up and every day look themselves in the mirror and don't pay attention to what's going on. Look at your gums, look at your teeth, bleeding gums, sore gums, cracked teeth, cavities in teeth. Heart, does my heartbeat feel good? Look at your breathing. Your breathing is one of the most immediate indicators of problems in the body. It's physical, emotional, and mental. Your breathing responds to all of it very, very quickly. Am I getting winded too quick? Am I only breathing through my chest? Am I holding my breath because I'm fearful or anxious or nervous about something? All that will change blood gas ratios and lead to all sorts of problems throughout the body. Without going through an exhausted list, you see, it's all right there in front of you. And it's changing constantly. You're turning over 2 million red blood cells a second. You're literally turning over I think it's either a minute or a second. It's been a while since I studied that physiology. It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. you're turning over every single cell in your body every year. It used to be thought it was 7 years, but current science shows we're turning over entire body every 1 year. So we're really actually like a fountain, okay? So the analogy I give my students is, have you ever been to a park that has a huge fountain in it? And if you approach it and you're a couple hundred yards away, it looks like an ice tree because you're too far away to actually see the water moving. But as you get close, you actually see that the fountain's holding its shape, but it's moving. Well, it's the soul that holds the shape. And it's the cells that are following the blueprint that the entelechy of the soul. Now, this is a metaphysical approach to this. Some left-brainer is going to say, this guy's crazy. But I could go into it. I'm going to do an entire podcast on that in the future. I've been mapping it out for a while.
Cool.
But the soul is what determines the relationships within the body and how things fit together. It's the guiding intelligence. So it's because you have a soul that your body looks like you, Sean, year by year by year. And I don't run into you and go, oh my God, who are you? And you say, well, I'm Sean, but last year I had different cells, so you can't recognize me now. The point is, it's a moving fountain. And what keeps the fountain alive is what you put in your mouth and what you breathe and what you drink, right? What comes into your body, what goes into your mind through media, through emotions, through environment, what comes into you through relationships. Those are all formative forces that determine how the water fountain looks. And some people's water fountain gets little piddly and skinny. Some of them get really big fat and the pressure goes down. So it's like a short, stocky water fountain and every variation in between. But if we listen to our body and the intelligence of our cells, which is, if you read the book, Your Body is Your Subconscious Mind by Candace Pert, which everybody should read. We have all the wisdom inside of us to guide us to maintain our beautiful God-given form. And look, I'm almost 65 and my body and my head looks older, but my body doesn't look much different than it did when I was 30 because I'm taking care of it.
Yeah.
Not because I'm biohacking or drinking from the elixir of some special fountain hidden in the Himalayas. Good sex helps for sure. But, it isn't that complicated. I think people have just gotten lost in the complexities of what I would call science that's not very scientific.
I'm so glad you said that, Paul, because the body knows what to do. The body knows how to heal. It knows how to regenerate. It knows how to detoxify. The body has this wisdom that if we let it do what it was designed to do and pay close attention, this is the way that I think about, now bioharmonization or, biooptimization.
Yeah.
What goes in you, on you, and around you.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And if you can control for those, if you take a keen observation about what goes in you, on you, and around you, and let the body do what it was meant to do, you will benefit. And sometimes that means slowing down. Sometimes that means don't put anything in it. Sometimes that means doing something that you've never done before to remind yourself, to remind your body that it is a divine design.
Yeah.
And those sorts of awarenesses don't come to us while we're eating Cheetos, watching the Kardashians.
Yeah, or scrolling
or doom scrolling
on your Black Mirror.
It's funny that you said that because that's we think of dry fasting as a transformation of the mind, the body, the emotion, and the spirit. And one of the things that does happen is people report just being less interested in scrolling on their phone.
Yeah.
They realize like, whoa, this is creating too much stress for me.
Well, not only that, it's a fake reality, It's
right.
It's more than I want to get into right now because I'll go off. But I'm going to give you an acronym that I use for what you just said. I call it the WABA. WABA. Observe what's within you, around you, above you, and below you. WABA. Within, around, above, below. All the within we've just talked about. Below, that's the ground that you eat from, that you walk on. Most of it's poison. Around you, everybody, your relationships, and the air you're breathing. And above you, those chemtrails and all the other shit going on up there. But above you is the stars and the moon and astrology, the science of the stars. And, you know, people say, oh, astrology's foo-foo, and they say tarot is the work of the devil. I say, well, I'll tell you what. I've never met a single person in my life that really committed themselves to the study of astrology or tarot that didn't find it deeply educational and fascinating. And isn't it amazing that we have this amazing problem today of the people that know the least about anything have the harshest opinions about it and think they're experts on it.
Right.
You know, all you got to do is tell your mother that you invite her to a psychedelic journey and watch what happens.
Yeah, been there.
Okay, my next one. Sean, I feel an obligation as a holistic health practitioner to share some of my concerns with fasting based on my own experience and research. Medical conditions generally stated as precautions for dry fasting: pregnant or breastfeeding women, children and elderly, anyone with diabetes, type 1 or type 2, insulin resistance, chronic kidney disease, heart disease, or recent cardiac events, active cancer under treatment, eating disorder history, or anybody with a history of eating disorder, underweight or malnourished individuals, those on medications requiring food, water, requiring food and water for metabolism, such as diuretics, SGLT2 inhibitors, blood pressure drugs, anticoagulants. Those drugs mess with your metabolism, liver disease, and neurodegenerative disorders. So what I did was I researched what percent of the US population currently has one or more of those problems, and it is 53% of the US population. That's over half the population automatically is excluded from dry fasting and probably should be careful with fasting in general. So then what the statistics could not tell me, and so I had to research more thoroughly and more carefully, is about the toxic burden. This is one of the most underappreciated dangers of any extended fast and is amplified by dry fasting because the body lacks the water needed to flush out and the liberated toxins. I have had one expert on dry fasting explain that the body produces its own internal water, as I mentioned earlier, but I'm not sure what the amount of that water is, and is it enough to handle the toxic burden that happens with fasting? And you said it was what, 1.5 liters?
It's 1.5 liters.
1.5 liters. Now, considering the average person needs to drink half their body weight in ounces of water a day, based on my research, that's what Batman Gielan says in his book too. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you need 100 ounces of water a day. For those in the metric system, you take your body weight in kilograms and multiply it by 0.033 to get liters a day. And that's right in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, by the way, in the water drinking section. One of the issues that I'm leading to is adipose fat cells, fat in the body, fat cells, are a storage depot for fat-soluble toxins. So whenever you're eating anything that your detoxification pathways can't detox, it shuttles into the fat to protect the brain, the glands, the nervous system, and the organs, because without those, you're dead. This is why most people don't need to be on diets. They need to be on detoxification programs. So examples of some fat-soluble toxins that are at very high levels in everybody's life: organochlorine pesticides, PBCs, dioxins, DDT metabolites. And even though DDT, by the way, is outlawed in the United States, they use it in Mexico, and it's shipped right across the border and no one says a thing. And it's used in other third world countries we get our food from. Remember, the average tomato flies 1,500 miles to get to your plate. So there's one of the things Americans don't realize is that almost every one of the chemicals that have been outlawed in the United States are still being used in third world countries because these damn chemical companies sell them everywhere they can, and they even give them to farmers to get them hooked on them. Then we have glyphosate. Then we have herbicides, rodenticides, fungicides, heavy metals, lead, mercury, cadmium, etc. Flame retardants from building materials, phthalates, and volatile organic compounds. When the body enters ketosis and burns fat for fuel, these stored toxins are liberated and mobilized into the bloodstream. Every study that has examined this has found increased blood levels of toxic pollutants during weight loss, between 14 and 388% increase, depending on the compound looked at and the amount of fat loss through the study. Why is this especially dangerous during dry fasting? The liver's detoxification system operates in two phases. Phase 1 converts fat-soluble toxins into water-soluble intermediates. This happens automatically. Phase 2 attaches a molecule, usually a methyl group, sulfur, amino acid, glycine, or glutathione, to render the toxin excretable. Okay? So just so everybody's clear what I'm saying, you have two phases. There's two pathways in the liver. At least when I went through all my training on this, was cytochrome P440, P448, and P50 pathways, and that's these phase 1 and phase 2 pathways. If I'm dusting my brain off, it's been years. But the point being is, almost all these dangerous farming chemicals are fat soluble. Why? Because they got to stick to the leaves of plants, so they'll just wash right off. So think of when you put skin cream on, it sticks to you. But if you pour water on your hand, it just falls off and dries off. So it turns out that the most dangerous chemicals to human bodies are almost always fat soluble. As a general, when it comes to the food supply and things that we come into contact with. But if you don't have the nutrition on board to convert a fat soluble chemical into a water soluble chemical, your body has to store it in fat. Okay, so I'm just giving a stage preface for what's coming here. Okay, so phase 2 attaches a methyl group, like I said, to render the toxins excretable. Phase 2 requires amino acids, proteins, sulfur compounds, and adequate hydration to function. During a dry fast, the body has no incoming amino acids or protein to fuel phase 2 conjugation, no incoming water or not enough to support renal excretion of water-soluble toxin conjugates, no dietary fiber to bind the toxins in the gut, no antioxidants such as glutathione, NAC, and vitamin C to neutralize the reactive intermediates created by phase 1 of the liver detoxification process. The results: phase 1 runs liberating toxic intermediates from fat, but phase 2 cannot keep pace with the raw because the raw materials are absent. Like most people are malnourished. I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. And the soils are severely depleted.
Yeah.
So unless you're eating food from a very skilled organic farmer or biodynamic farmer or Korean farmer or someone that really knows how to rehabilitate the soil, just to give you an example, I got a study right here in my library that was done probably 20 years ago. And they analyzed the nutritional value of lettuce in, I think, 1945 or 50, and then compared it to lettuce available in the market today. And they showed you'd have to eat 50 heads of lettuce today to get the same nutrients that you would have gotten from one head of lettuce 50 years earlier. Okay, so my point is, a lot of people fasting of any type do not have the nutrition on board to detox fat-soluble chemicals. Okay. These reactive intermediates can accumulate in vital organs, acting as endocrine disruptors, neurotoxins, and carcinogens. As one clinician summarized, a 5-day water fast could overwhelm your detox system, causing more harm than good, and a dry fast lacking even water compounds this risk further. I'm not trying to scare people off of dry fasting. I'm just trying to make sure they know what the hell they're doing. Then we go to the modern toxic burden. The average person today carries a significant body burden from environmental chemicals, from pesticides and herbicides in food, heavy metals from vaccines, dental amalgams, contaminated water, building materials such as formaldehyde, flame retardants, and VOCs, chemtrail, crap, atmospheric particulates, pharmaceutical residues, and microplastics, to name a few. Okay. Based on the books focusing on detoxification I've studied and current lab studies, including that of newborns, 100% of human beings carry a toxic burden. The significance ranges depending on environmental exposure, diet, water sources, geographical locations, and diet and lifestyle factors. Now, maybe a year ago, Children's Health Defense newsletter published a study where they took the blood out of newborn babies and tested it, and they found the average newborn had, I believe it was 126 toxic chemicals at dangerously high levels right out of the womb. Okay, so this is how toxic people are. This means that virtually everyone attempting an extended dry fast in the modern world is metabolizing stored toxins without the biochemical resources to safely eliminate them. A Buchlinger Wilhelmli study, I can't pronounce that, it's probably a German name, clinic study on 10-day water fasting found decreased urinary arsenic and nickel, 72% decreased urinary arsenic, 15% decrease in nickel, and decreased hair lead, 30% reduction. But clinically noted whether fasting detoxifies the body in the sense that it decreases the pollutant body burden cannot be determined from their data. The toxins may simply be redistributed rather than eliminated. For example, the body may redistribute the toxins back into the faster's body fat for the same protective reasons, but I personally haven't seen any studies analyzing this. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm making a very important point.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tie it to you. You did lab tests on yourself.
Yeah.
And you saw great results.
I did.
Okay. But what you didn't see is what the body couldn't deal with and put back into your own fat or buried in your bone system. Because the bones can harbor a lot of heavy metals and toxins. That's been demonstrated from studies of people's skeletal remains. And they can do that even with skeletons that are 2,000 years old. They can find all the heavy metals and stuff. Look at Brian Marescu's book.
Yeah.
And see what they were able to do with, clay pots that were 25,000 years old. They could still analyze exactly what was in them 25,000 years later. So the bottom line, anyone with significant toxic exposure should not jump into an extended dry fast without first supporting their detoxification pathways. A preparatory detox phase with adequate nutrition, hydration, fiber, sulfur-rich foods, glutathione precursors, just taking glutathione is a good idea, and possibly binding agents is essential before fat mobilization is accelerated. Shorter, more frequent fasts with proper feeding may achieve greater cumulative detoxification than one long unsupported fast. So that was an issue that concerns me, and I just want to thank you because you gave me the inspiration to do a podcast on this. I've been watching more and more talk about dry fasting in social media, YouTube, podcasts. It's starting to become the new thing.
Right.
Right. And that concerns me.
Yeah.
And so as a clinician with enough experience to know where the booby traps are, and I'll tell you what first alerted me to this. This may or may not surprise you. Do you remember when Bill Phillips published the Body for Health book?
No.
You know who Bill Phillips is?
Yeah, I know Bill Phillips.
He was the founder of Muscle Media 2000, a magazine which I actually used to write articles 4 years ago. Well, and then Metrics followed suit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the program was there was a big award for who could lose the most weight and look the best. And it was a big deal. So you had to buy his book and you had to be taking at least one of his products every day. And you had to show a newspaper, you had to show the receipts. And I can't remember what the prize, it was a big prize, $100,000 or some crazy thing. I can't remember. And Metrics did the same thing. within about 3 months of him starting that contest, I started getting people coming to me with all sorts of hell breaking loose, from serious chronic joint pain to inflammatory syndromes to gut problems to cognitive problems. I mean, I'm like, holy shit. Like, it was a surprise to me. All these people are doing, because a lot of them were cutting calories because they were fat. So they're taking their Bill Phillips supplements, but they were going to the gym and running on fucking treadmills and lifting weights like the cows were fucking coming home, and they were getting sick. And this is why I coined the term the fit sick person.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, never trade your liver for a set of biceps or a set of pecs. It's a bad trade. And so this became so concerning to me because I understood how detoxification works. And I understood that body stores toxins and fat, and these people were forcing their body to burn fat and putting a tremendous amount of stress on their internal organs. I started doing research into this. And I actually found research papers looking into this, and they showed scans of the liver showing that people were scarring their livers because these toxins, fat-soluble toxins, were getting into the liver, but they didn't have the nutrition to run to transfer them from water, fat-soluble to water-soluble chemicals. So the phase 1 could not be bridged with phase 2. And so these chemicals are sitting in their liver, scarring the shit out of the liver. I saw cross-sections of livers that looked just, you know how fat looks in meat?
Yeah.
How it
Marbles.
like a marbling?
Yeah.
Except this was scar tissue. And so the doctors, and then this is a long time ago. I mean, I don't know how many years ago that was, but it's long, you know, it's around 2000, right? Muscle Media 2000. And these researchers were very concerned with what they were seeing, and so was I. And so that was my cue to start doing a lot deeper dive into detox. And I have at least 50 good books on detoxification. I'm talking some of the best books in the world. I studied it like crazy, and it's a deep topic.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a threshold where I say, okay, I need to send you to someone like Dr. Cliff Oliver, or there used to be a lady I worked with, Dodie Anderson. There's people that I know that they focus on that kind of stuff. And, you know, they can get all sorts of chemicals out of your body. I've had people tell me that when they're doing certain detoxes, their piss smells just like gasoline. Some of them say it smells like fingernail polish remover and hair dyes and all sorts of shit comes out of people's body. I'll give you a classic example of a case history I had. I can't really say her name, but I'll just say she was the mayor of one of the cities here in San Diego County. And she got really sick, and she was going from doctor to doctor to doctor, and nobody could fucking tell her what the hell was going on. They wanted to put her on, they had her on all these different drugs and pills. She was getting worse and worse. So I ran an environmental toxicity panel on her, which looks for 175 chemicals that are, you know, commonly coming from work environments, asbestos, paint, stuff coming out, outgassing out of paints. You know, people don't know this. A new carpet outgasses 132 carcinogenic chemicals for the first year it's on your floor. Yeah. A new car has 68,000 chemicals that's outgassing, most of which are carcinogenic. And for the first year, it's really heavy. That's why I tell people, if you buy a new car, leave the windows open as much as you can. And there's actually plants you can buy that'll absorb these toxins out of the air. And I tell people, if you buy a new house, be careful. You're in a Molotov cocktail, man. It's death. So anyhow, here's the punchline. When the test came back, the chemicals that she had at the highest levels, the lab report said these chemicals are commonly used, and it named all the makeups, women's makeup. And I went and showed it to her, and I said, look where these chemicals commonly come from. She said, oh my God, I'm using this one, that one, and that one. I've been using it for years.
Yeah.
So she was being poisoned by her makeup, and she was in really bad shape. So I put her on a detox program, and I had her buy organic makeup, and she completely rehabbed very quickly, about 3 months. And she was pretty much back to full charge and doing great. Now her detox needed to go on longer than that. I had to change her diet and, you know, get her on supplements and say, you need to stay on these for quite a while. But there's a case of a woman who could have died. The other one I've had lots of cases of is women that were damn near dead, and I tracked it right back to silicone poisoning from breast implants.
Yeah.
And I've probably had 25 cases like that in my career. Seriously bad. So do you see what I'm bringing up here?
Totally.
What I'm bringing up is that if you are not adequately nourished, even if you're in the hands of someone smart like you that knows how to run a fast, even if you're in the hands of a medical doctor that can do blood tests on you, you don't know unless you've done very advanced testing. And even with the best tests we have, we still can't really evaluate the reserves or lack of nutrition in a person's body. They're getting pretty tricky with testing now. You can find out a lot of stuff. But you don't know what's hiding in the dragon. And when you put the body into ketosis and you starve it and you dehydrate it, all those toxins concentrate in the body, and they can be extremely devastating to the nervous system, to the hormonal system, to the glands, the organs, the tissues. And the question I have is, for every one guy like you that has great results, how many people out there end up with problems that they go to doctors for thinking it's coming from something completely different? And I'll give you an analogy of coming from something completely different. It is only because the average person going to a gym has no idea what personal trainers are doing to them that they end up with serious neck, back, gut, headache, neck pain problems that are the direct results of dysfunctional training. And so they don't go back and address it with the trainer, and they don't sue the trainers because they don't know. But when they come to me, I know where it's coming from in a minute, because that's what I do for a living. And I work with a lot of professional sports teams and track their problems right back to shitty strength coaching programs and shitty nutritional programs and forcing athletes to eat shit from sponsors. And the list is long. So I'm a holistic health practitioner by trade. People come to me from all over the world when the shit hits the fan and doctors don't fucking know what to do with them, which is why I've had to spend my life asking one simple question: what causes that? And when I find the answer, then I got to say, what causes that? And I keep doing that till I hit rock bottom. And that's why you're sitting with 5,000 books right now, because that's what it takes to answer that question.
Right.
5,000 books. And a lot of smart friends and teachers. And I know a lot of really smart doctors and really smart therapists. Not enough for the population we have. So I just would like to hear from you. How does this land with you?
Valid. I think it's a valid consideration. You know, how you go into a dry fast or any fast is really important. How you exit any sort of fast is really important. You know, we encourage people to do blood work, to do DEXA scans or in-body scans. We encourage people 100% to make sure that when they refeed and rehydrate, that it is the highest possible quality food that they can possibly find. You know, when I look and think about sort of the broader spectrum of dry fasting, you know, going back to the 1700s, you know, Drs. Shchenikov and Filanov and Ivanov, who was doing rat studies on what happens when they're doing dry fasting with rats, exposing them to radiation and watching what happens afterward. I think the problem here is that we are very early in this process. We're very early. And I think a lot of people agree with me, that dry fasting specifically, there needs to be a ton more research on it, because the research that currently exists is mostly in Russian. And, you know, August Dunning has done a really good job of consolidating those ideas and citing and putting together documentation with lab analysis on what happens with people, like what's really going on. They feel better. They have these amazing, you know, you get the stem cell release, you get these incredible transformational changes. But I think that extensive blood work is important going forward.
Health isn't just one thing, it's everything working together. And one of the fastest growing areas in health and wellness is integrated health, the middle ground between fitness and rehab. People who follow this path see real long-term results. and this field provides amazing opportunities for those looking for a career change or upgrade. The Chek Institute has been educating Chek practitioners for over 30 years. They learn a step-by-step system that integrates advanced assessments, functional movement, and lifestyle coaching as a unified approach, allowing them to help their clients find lasting success that simply can't be achieved by just following a single pathway. But sometimes getting started on a new path can be challenging. That's why we created the new Chek Integrated Health Foundation program, building on Paul Chek's system that's been refined for over 30 years and practiced by more than 70,000 Chek-trained professionals worldwide. It's self-paced with lifetime access, community, payment plans, and limited time bonuses. When you complete it, you'll be able to run a complete client process, screen lifestyle factors, assess movement, design client-centered plans, and deliver a high-end service session after session so your work becomes referable, respected, and built to last. So whether you're looking for a career change and wanting a roadmap, or you're a fitness trainer tired of commoditized sessions, or maybe a medical professional frustrated by poor follow-through between appointments, the new Chek Integrated Health Foundation program can help you find success and fulfillment. Go to paul.chekinstitute.com/Spirit Gym to learn more about the brand new Chek Integrated Health Foundation program.
I think long-term studies are important too.
I totally agree.
You know, like you mentioned, and you get a lot of these benefits, but what you don't know is what the body's having to do to endure the fast. And so while you have the benefits, for example, cosmetic surgery makes you look really good in the mirror.
Sure.
To the untrained eye, but it poisons your body. And it's only if you start following these people for enough years, or you work with me, like me, where you have to deal with them when they're having problems and they think it's something else. I always think it's something else. And I have to, break the news to them. And they're like, oh my God, you mean to tell me that my breast implants could be leaking into my body? Nobody told me that. Well, of course they didn't. They wouldn't sell you any breasts.
Right.
Like the body is extremely complex and elaborate. And that's what this one doctor was bringing up. They have better improvements in these, but we don't know at what cost.
Right.
So I think what has to be done is studies over the span of, potentially up to 30 years.
I agree.
And then we'll begin to know. Now, I'm not saying not to fast. Dry fasting is sort of like the Navy SEAL version of fasting.
Right.
It's like you're getting serious. But I also want to bring up another point, and that is many different types of fasts, as we started the podcast with, have been used in spiritual and religious ceremonies for thousands and thousands of years. But they weren't eating pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, resistance. No one was spraying the fucking sky with chemtrails. No one was vaccinating kids with 72 vaccinations before there were 2. No one was putting poisonous chemicals in their lean-tos. They weren't on poisonous carpets and driving poisonous cars, and they weren't dealing with 68,000 food additives, preservatives, colorings, emulsifiers, and stabilizers. I mean, I got entire catalogs of that shit. So the risk here is that we take ancient wisdom and try to apply it in a modern environment. And that's dangerous. Don't you agree?
I agree. Yeah.
It's really dangerous. Now, philosophically and foundationally, it's saying fasting has great therapeutic benefits. It's got great benefits physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. But as an analogy, it would be like saying, we looked at how fast dogs and horses could run 300 years ago. And when we measure the speed of dogs at dog races and horse races now, they're a lot faster. So what we are doing must be working. But what they forgot to tell you is about all the anabolic steroids that the dogs 300 years ago didn't have. And what they forgot to tell you is that those dogs and horses didn't die of heart attacks, and their balls didn't shrink.
Yeah, right.
And, on it goes, right? So this is where just a little bit of information can be very, very dangerous. And that's why Rudolf Steiner said, what's far more dangerous than a whole lie is a half truth or a quarter truth, because people overlook them.
Yeah.
And where I want to kind of bring this towards the conclusion for our very beautiful and very important, and I'm very grateful. Thank you for doing this with me.
My pleasure.
This is my message to the world on this topic. Rule number 1, drink high quality water. Go right to my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. I told you every fucking thing you need to know to be a healthy person in that book, with rare exceptions. 90% of the people I coach worldwide, no matter what's wrong with them, I don't have to go outside of what's in that book. You got 4 doctors. Dr. Happiness. Have some values, have a dream for yourself, and take responsibility for making yourself happy. And that doesn't mean being addicted to phones and junk food and all that crap. It means, art, dance, sing, play. Remember, there's a few questions a real shaman will always ask you if you come to them with some kind of a crisis. And everybody should start writing these down. When did you lose your sense for the magic, mystery, and awe of life? When did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? When did you stop enjoying good stories? And when did you stop enjoying being alone with yourself? Because the answer to those questions tell the shaman in me right where I got to look to see why you're not happy, healthy, and whole. And so we got to start right there. Yeah. We got to eat organic food and stop putting our money into poison. Only 4 to 6% of the food in the world is organically grown, which means you can't be eating more than that in the per capita.
Right.
Right? If only 4 to 6% of the food is organic in the whole world, there's no way then the population could be eating more than that. And research shows only about 4 to 6% of the population eat organic food. And I mean real organic food, not bullshit organic food that's grown by the commercial producers of garbage who have bogus organic certifications. But the simple point is, go to local farmers, eat real food from real soils by farmers that actually care about what they're doing. Don't eat more food than you need. Don't eat too much food at night. Give your fucking organs a rest. People eat a pile of food before they go to bed, and their poor internal systems are running sprints and doing backflips all night. And that's why people wake up so tired with bags under their eyes and feeling exhausted, because you never got a rest. Yeah. Your internal systems, which are very active, right? They're a living system, are working all night. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Sleep is the number 1 best form of medicine there is. So we got food, we got water, we got sleep. We got nutrition, we got hydration, we got sleep, we got breathing. Learn to breathe. I show you right how to breathe in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. And isn't it amazing that people go to breathing workshops all the time, and I get them always in my classes and in my client base, where they come back from some magical mystery 2-week breathing tour in the middle of nowhere, freezing their ass off, but they still can't breathe.
Yeah.
I say, please take a breath from me. They cannot breathe properly, but they can get themselves high on endogenously produced DMT, but they don't know how to breathe. And the consequences of that would be 5 podcasts worth, because it's a major part of a Chek professional's training. So nutrition, hydration, sleep, breathing, thinking. Most people kill themselves with their mind. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So develop a relationship with your mind. That's what Spirit Gym's all about, is how to manage that black box. So I don't have time to go into it, and then movement. Do enough movement to keep your body healthy, which for the average person should be at walking intensity 60 minutes a day. Build up to it. My rule is, if you can't improve by what you did in your last workout by 1%, then you need a day off, and you should be doing what I call working in, such as Tai Chi, Qigong, things that don't elevate your heart rate, your breathing rate, that you can do comfortably on a full stomach and don't dry your tongue out. Once your tongue starts to dry out, it means you're going sympathetic dominant. So working in builds your life force energy, working out spends it. So those are the 6 foundation principles I teach. Nutrition, hydration, sleep, those are your feminine. Breathing, thinking, and movement are the masculine. There's your Tai Chi symbol divided by 6. And if you get enough raw food in your diet and quality fiber in your diet, and you have enough minerals in your diet, minerals are regulators of the hormonal system. So things like shilajit,
yeah,
right? That's potent stuff. Using sea salt, Celtic sea salt, real salt, quality sea salt. You get good sea salt has typically around 40 to 42 minerals and trace minerals and up to 40 plus ocean elements that are very healthy for the body. And yet the medical systems convince us we shouldn't do that because it raises blood pressure, which is absolute fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to fast from the garbage first.
Right. 100%.
You know, I can't remember where I read this, but I'm going to make my final statement with this. I think it might have been Dr. Bernard Jensen, a famous chiropractor who was really, I think he was also a naturopathic physician. He wrote many great books. He said, or whoever said it, don't ask your doctor what you should take. Ask your doctor what you should take away. And that, I think, is the transition we all need to make today. What is it that's going into my body that does not belong in my body? You know, I tell people, if you're eating food that's more dead than you, realize it's taking your life force energy to turn that into a living human being. And that's why most people are so tired after they eat and have to drink coffee and tea after a meal. Because dead food does not feed a living body. It sucks life out of it. You got to relive it, right?
Yeah.
But if you eat sushi, I used to work on a fishing boat. If you catch a fish, gut it, chop it up and eat it, there's so much damn energy coming from you.
Yeah.
You know, if you shoot a deer and cut it open and eat some raw liver, you'll think you smoked some of their best THC pot. You'll be dancing around going, holy fuck, this is amazing. I mean, when you start eating like a really good salad, like we got food we grow here on our property, you eat a really good salad and you won't need coffee.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be alive. And I think those things coupled with fasting intelligently make for a really healthy person. But people trying to fast to lose weight and compensate for not doing that, it becomes biohacking.
You're right. You're right. And there is no, what is it? There is no biological free lunch, right?
No.
Right. You don't, it's not a shortcut. You have to cover all your bases. Everything that you just said, Paul, will always be true. These are universal truths about how to live a healthful life.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you take a look at what other opportunities there are to get a major change in a very short period of time, done correctly, done thoughtfully, prepared for and exited in the proper way, the potential is tremendous.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. And I really hope that this podcast wakes people up and gets them curious and gets them reading and looking all, I mean, you've probably referenced 20 books just in this conversation alone to understand some of these concepts and to do as much reading and preparation as they possibly can. And then experiment with 12 hours, experiment with 24 hours.
Yeah.
Just see how that feels. See how that feels in your body. Does it feel right?
Yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn, like we put together a ton of resources at drivefastwithfriends.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn all about it. Look at the work of Dr. Shashenikov, Dr. Filanov, read the Phoenix Protocol and really understand this stuff and empower yourself because the body knows what to do.
Yeah. Now, don't you have some offerings, courses that you offer? Yeah. Why don't you share that? Because, you know, I feel safe having people go to you because obviously you've done a lot of down in the trenches work. You've tested this stuff yourself. You're aware of these complications. And so I think you're a good resource to share. So fire away, share whatever offerings you have, websites, contact information as we close.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Again, this entire journey in dry fasting was birthed because we were curious about it. You know, my friend Theo Lucier, who's sitting here back behind me, we wanted to provide as much information as possible. And there's lots of different ways that you can do this. You know, an intermittent dry fast for fat loss is a very short 1-day dry fast to experiment with it. You can go ahead and get that for free. Go to dryfastwithfriends.com. We have essentially 3 levels that people can be interested in. You can go and look at a do-it-yourself dry fast, which will give you everything that you need to do, again, to prepare for it ahead of time, open up detox pathways, clear the pathways for you to get the most out of this. You can do the group dry fasting with us, and we have people from all over the world, dozens and dozens and dozens of people of all different shapes and sizes and ages. From I think we had an 80-year-old guy. We've had women in their 20s who've gone through these dry fasts with us. It's a daily call, so we're doing support, we're helping, we're coaching, we're pointing you in the right directions to learn more. It's a ton of information to empower people to do this in the best, safest way possible. With Theo's experience in detoxification and nourishment and forgotten health, that a lot of people just don't think about anymore. This sort of decentralized health wisdom that your grandma and grandma before her really knew about. He's an expert in that. My specific offering is really about holding space and coaching people, helping people through transformations. Because when you go through something like this, you want to change your life and you're ready to make some big changes.
Yeah.
And then we have the all-in package, which includes coaching and some other esoteric practices that we do to just, it's the type of thing that we wanted for ourselves to assist in this dry fast experience. And we offer that to people. But again, this is not for everybody. This is not for everybody. It sounds
to me like a very good, to use Ken Wilber's term, wake up, clean up, grow up, and show up protocol.
Boom.
And that's what we need in the world right now. It's also a great, somewhat of a shamanic journey, vision quest, rite of passage. And in the right hands, I think it's fantastic. It's, the native populations for a rite of passage would beat you right to the edge of your very life, but going without food for 3 days and water could be just what you need to meet yourself and become who you came to be. So thank you.
Thanks, Paul,
for providing that. Yeah. Any contact details, websites or anything?
Yeah, easy to find. You can go to Theo's information, YouTube at forgottenhealth.com. My coach,
The Forgotten Health?
Forgottenhealth.com.
Oh, just Forgotten Health. Okay.
Yep. And then you can look at you can listen to my podcast, which I'm going to have you on very shortly. I want to dive deep into the spirit gym, revisit these concepts with you, with my audience. My podcast is Optimal Performance. It's called OPP. And then my coaching website and how I do my work in the world with people, again, clients all over the world, helping them transform and be their best, is just my name. It's SeanMcCormick.com. And then on Instagram, it's Dry Fast with Friends or Real Sean McCormick on Instagram. And I'm super active there. So we're easy to find. We're real people. We want to connect with people. We love talking with people. And this has been so cool. I can't even tell you.
Thank you.
I can't tell you how fun this has been to spend some time with you today.
Yeah, it's been great to meet both of you and show you my home and share some beautiful water and smoke. And in a minute, we're going to have some beautiful food, and wait till you see how good of a cook Penny is. That'll shock you.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's made for you. Probably something simple. She doesn't like to cook, but she's damn good at it.
Perfect.
And so, yeah, thank you to both of you. And Theo's sitting right across the way in the art center over there, hanging out with us. And I want to thank you guys. If you made it this far in the podcast, it means you're probably really genuinely interested in a couple of things. One, taking care of yourself. Two, being the change the world needs right now. And so thank you no matter why you're still with us. Finally, I'd like to say thank you so much to my sponsors, because these are people that devote themselves fully to making clean, healthy supplementation and food products and things that actually do really work and feed you and take care of you, or I would not use them. I don't offer anything on my podcast that I don't give to my own children, which I love. My kids, I love. I'm here to protect them from the devils. And every dollar you spend on anything from the sponsors is going into the hands of biodynamic and organic farmers, because that's where they get their source materials from. And those are the people that are taking care of our soils. So check it out. You're taking care of the companies that are taking care of you. You're taking care of the farmers that are taking care of you. You're taking care of yourself, and a little tiny bit goes to the podcast. And that's love spread 4 ways. And that's really loving. And that's really beautiful. And so thank you for being with us. Thank you for supporting the sponsors, because without that, I couldn't do the podcast. It takes a lot of work to run a good podcast and a lot of time. And thank you to Sean. And Sean, you have something you want to share?
Well, just one last thing, because your audience are some of the smartest, most motivated, enthusiastic people. You know, it's so obvious to see. We've created a promo code, and we've made a massive discount, like massive 50% off.
Holy shit, that's great.
We believe in this really strongly, and we want people to start experimenting with dry fasting because we have seen so many people benefit from it. So if you go to dryfastwithfriends.com, eventually, if you want to put in the code Chek, CHEK, you'll get 50% off any of the 3 levels of dry fasting. That's the do-it-yourself, the group dry fast, or the all-in. And we just want to offer that to your listeners because we believe in you so strongly and in your community. So you can use that code. And again, that's 50% off. But I wanted to put that in there because
that's important.
We don't do that for anybody else.
Well, that's the best discount I've ever had on my podcast yet. Ever. Almost 400 podcasts. So you rung the bell there, buddy.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And lots of love, you guys. I don't know what I've got coming up next, but I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I hope you're sharing it with people that you think it'll help, and be the change. We are safe. We are home. We are whole. Aho, Great Spirit. It is done. It is done. It is done. See you next time. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Gym with Paul Chek and today's guest, Sean McCormick. If you'd like to experience dry fasting yourself, then be sure to check out Sean's next group event starting June 25th. As a listener of this podcast, you can get up to 50% off the event with the coupon code Chek. Go to bit.ly/Dry Fast with Friends to find out more. That's bit.ly/Dry Fast with Friends to find out more about the Dry Fast with Friends live event starting June 25th. And you'll get access to Sean's masterclass video with everything you need to know on short and long dry fasts. Whether you opt for the live group event, the DIY program if you can't make the actual dates, or the full live group event with one-on-one support, make sure to enter the coupon code CHEK to get your 50% discount. You can listen to Sean's podcast, Optimal Performance Podcast, on all major podcast channels, and connect with Sean on Instagram at Real Sean McCormick and at Dry Fast with Friends. For more interaction with Paul and to share ideas and ask questions about the topics discussed in this podcast, we invite you to join his Spirit Gym program and community. You can participate in live Q&A sessions, access the members forum within the Spirit Gym community, chat with other members, attend weekly virtual meetups with Paul, and study his comprehensive Master Key online program. Explore the options and subscribe today by going to myspiritgym.com. And finally, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the show on the podcast platform of your choice. This podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube.